All right, Ed, and we are live.
All right, y'all. Welcome to All Politics of Local America's number one political hip hop radio talk show. Y'all know if it is Friday, y'all know it's time for All Politics Are Local. But more importantly, y'all know if it is the third Friday, y'all know
Fourth Friday. If it's the fourth
fourth
Friday,
Friday.
Oh,
Fourth Friday. That's right. If it is the fourth Friday, y'all know it's time for the disciples, right? And of course, we have one of the stars of the disciple, of course, herself, the one and only Louise Scott-Rountree. So after John give you the Roundtree, the councilwoman at large will be on. So John, you want to give them the rundown so we can introduce and hand it over to
oh,
the councilwoman.
absolutely. Absolutely. So at 6 o'clock, we're going to have the disciples come on. And as you know, that with Councilwoman at Newark Councilwoman at Large, Louise Scott Roundtree, Minister Haqq Muhammad, and First Lady Balena Ali will be joining them at 7 o'clock. We're going to have Kathy O'Leary of PAX Chrsti, New Jersey, on the Good Friday long march to Delany Hall. And I just want to give a shout out to our Congresswoman. LaMonica McIver, because we all need to keep in the front of our heads that she was one of the first people prosecuted by this administration for trying to stand up for what was going on at Delany Hall.
That's right.
Her and the mayor, and she is still being prosecuted. So we're going to have an update on what's going on at Delany Hall. But I just want to give always when we talk about this, I want to give a shout out to Councilwoman LaMonica McIver, because I don't think her case needs to be forgotten. I have not seen it in the news. So every time I can get a chance to talk about it, we will. At 7:45, Racquel Romans Henry of Salvation and Social Justice will be on to talk about the state of the juvenile justice in New Jersey. At 8:30, we're going to have the people's lawyer, Nkechi Taifa. She's been on our show many times before, and she is an amazing civil rights attorney, world known and incredibly famous, especially on the issue of reparations. And she's going to be talking about the United Nations historic vote on the transatlantic slave trade. We're going to talk a lot more about that, but you know that all but 3 countries voted for that resolution. The United States, Israel, and Argentina were the only ones who are like or nah to that slavery conversation. So we're going to have a lively conversation tonight. And of course, we're starting off with the disciples. So welcome, Newark Councilwoman, Reverend Louise Scott Roundtree. We are always honored and happy to have you on. Hello.
hello, greetings, good evening. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, Brother Ed. And I am honored to be once again on the number one, all politics of local America's number one hip hop political. On the air, live, and in living color with one of the disciples. Of course, we have many. And to my brother, Minister Haqq Muhammad, who started us on this journey, and to our sister, Lady Balena Ali, the other part of who else started with us, Pastor in the Hood, Brian Ali. It is once again a pleasure to be with you on this Friday night. As you can see, all politics are local are on the road with me again. It is going to be, Baba, one of those evenings where I take you guys on a little tour with me prior to all of the other things I have to do this evening. But I was scheduled to speak at to give some encouraging words to some of the young ladies at University High School. As you guys know, that I am back in the schools, speaking, empowering, motivating, and loving on our sisters. As I'm talking about that, we do know that our brothers tonight are over at Central High School with the Honorable Mayor Raz J. Baraka. For those who are tuned in case you think you don't have time to make it, you definitely have time to get there right now. Get there, get there. See the opportunities that the brothers have, that the mayor is allowing, the encouraging words. Yes, you need to get there as soon as
And,
possible.
and
Uh,
you're talking about the men's meeting, right?
of course, that's what I'm talking about.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I just said. Of course, the men. I was talking about women's empowerment. I said, but tonight, uh, now see, you just threw me all off just going inside my conversation.
Sorry about that.
But yes, men's meetings occurring as we speak over at Central High School. I was telling the listening audience that they can tune in to Central High School, not on here, tune in person and see what's available to the brothers tonight. Our mayor's been doing this since he's come into office, and when people want to know what's going on in Newark, there's a lot going on in Newark. The issue is people that are not doing anything literally want to drown out the progress that's being made and the work that's being done. But if you know, like I know, sometimes action speaks so loud that it drowns out the noise. And that is what's important in our community today. That I tell folks all the time, hallelujah is amazing because you're giving God the highest praise, but it's the do you, hallelujah. What are you doing? What are you doing in our community for our community? So tonight, in the absence of my two co-hosts, we're going to be celebrating an anniversary soon. I've got to look and see when our first show came on, my dear beloved brother Ed. We've got
Yeah.
to
I'm,
see.
I'm, I'm gonna help you find that too. I'm gonna go back and look up
All we
that.
Oh,
gotta do is
cool.
look at where we took that picture on the steps
Exactly.
of City,
That's
of
right.
City Hall.
Right.
That's
Me and
exactly
you, Ali.
you
That's
got
it.
it.
That's it. And as
Yep.
soon as we do that, we
Yep.
need to have, we need to dedicate that night to having different guests come on, which is our plan to celebrate the disciples through COVID. Because when
True.
we
Yeah.
started in the studio. We
Yeah.
were coming to
And
the
we.
studio. We had
Mhm.
guests coming to the studio. COVID hit, and we've
Yep.
been on Zoom ever since.
Yep.
Um, so my prayer is that we will get back in the studio because I'm surely in Channel 78 with my program called News and Views, Faith and Community with Reverend Louise Scott-Rountree. Some years ago, when Felipe Luciano was working in our press office,
Okay.
he came to me because I was overseeing the clergy. And he said, listen, I want you to pull together some faith leaders and we're going to have a show because you need to talk about what faith is doing in the community.
Mm.
And I said, I just want you to know that faith is the community because these churches and these masjids and these synagogue, well, we have one synagogue in Newark, but all of the houses of worship, especially the missions, the small ones, those are our community. Those are the houses of worship that people that live on the block come and get their groceries from and look out for the building and are connected. A lot of churches in Newark are commuting churches. Big ones, I'm talking about the big, which whatever you would consider big. That have large congregations. They travel all over. They might be coming from Livingston, West Orange, wherever. But the one that has the 40 people or the 30 people, they cannot be overlooked. So that was the talk of the show that we did. I had I'm sorry, Minister, because there's two Haqs. Minister Haqq Muhammad, um, Pastor Pablo, and there was Rabbi Rosenbach. There were four of us on that, which means when you guys had the conversation about the disciples, I know Minister Haqq Muhammad had this in mind. And it is such an honor to still be on this all politics are local with a platform. So I'm waiting patiently for that date so we can start planning. I'm going to speak to my co-hosts and see how we can engage various people from the community outside of those guests that you already have coming on to have them talk about topics. Maybe someone from Social Security, maybe someone from Medicaid, maybe some, because we have issues right now that are affecting our communities. Brother Ed, Brother Jonathan, Brother Baba, we have some issues that are affecting our community, and people are trying to figure out, well, what should we do, or what should
Yeah.
we be prepared for? You know, uh,
It's,
go ahead.
I was going to say it's kind of like when COVID happened, and you did a lot of really good work, and all of the disciples did a lot of really good work
Yes.
informing our community, being advocates inside of hospitals, and really trying to inform the policies that we would have uh, locally in terms of how what the protections would be, getting people access to vaccines when they came out, and education about those vaccines. I think that that was such a good example of the community and clergy and politicians and community activists all working together at the same time. When you talk about guests, I remember getting the head of University of Medicine and Dentistry
That's
on
right.
here
I'm
multiple
gonna
times
bring
to have these
I'm ready to bring her
conversations.
on to get the new one. We have a new CEO and president of University Hospital. Her name is Carol Johnson. We have Brooke Tippins, who myself and before my beautiful sister that you talked about, Congresswoman LaMonica McIver. We were doing so many programs in partnership. I'm still doing them, and so is she, regarding cancer awareness, just mental health. So these are other topics that we deal with as well. So I'll be bringing them on. Brooke Tippins, of course, the CEO, Carol Johnson, the new CEO of University Hospital, to talk about some things. She did a presentation for the Newark Municipal Council this week, but she has been traveling to so many different um, community events. Like nobody had to invite her. She just asks what's going on and shows up, you know.
Okay.
And that's that's unique because sometimes they're so busy, you got to try to find a way to get in their schedule, uh, or have them get in yours, one or the other. But Cal Johnson has hit the ground running, and like I said, Brooke Tippins is our liaison for community. So I would like to get them on the show. Uh, soon. And so that will be one of the things. And back to getting the community involved and letting them know what's going on. The truth of the matter is, um, SNAP benefits. I was just talking about Medicaid and health benefits. What's going on with the federal government? Some people are not even aware of how I could say so they were talking about there's a new process for your SNAP benefits. And if you don't meet those requirements, there's a possibility your benefits will surely be affected. And so that's the type of information that should be brought on our shows, um, as
Yeah.
faith, letting individuals know, because I'm surely taking it to the congregation. I have a gentleman that I met with last week. He's been coming, his name is George. He's been coming to a couple of my faith meetings, my interfaith meetings, because it's our congregations that need the information. And if we don't bring it, we need to make sure someone there is getting it to the people because those are already large audiences or an audience period. And that is the community. So if something's being affected, it's just like when you do a job fair. You got people in your church that need jobs. They come to you, you don't have no job. Jonathan don't have no corporation to hire 5,000. He might have a corporation to hire two. I don't know. Jonathan, can you hire two people? But I'm just saying,
Not even. Not even.
Ed Riley, they come to you. Baba, they might
Right.
come to you. But the truth is, if we don't have, but if a job fair is available and we know there's going to be 50 companies there, we should be sharing that information
Right.
citywide. We get a flyer and we look at it, and that's what we do. We just look at it. I mean, I don't do that. I try to share it on social media, via email. We just had a women's meeting with First Lady Balena Ali and Amina Bay. Um, our February meeting. I don't know why I keep saying because that's not even part of my vocabulary. But yes, so we had a meeting on Monday. We had the CEO of the YWCA of Hudson and Bergen rather, and she came in and she talked about all the job opportunities, resume preparation. So the women that were there, whether they were looking for a job or not, was able to obtain information that would assist them on some level of employment. We have developers there, not entrepreneurs there that are creating their own products. They might be able to inspire someone that has an idea but just doesn't know how to implement or get the ball rolling. So this is happening around us here in the city of Newark. And let me say this: I am not a problem starter. That is my new statement for the month. Well, this month's almost out. I've been saying this all month. I am not a problem starter. I'm a problem solver. If there is an issue or things going on in our community and it makes it to my doorstep or my telephone, we should be trying to find resolutions, not talk. So many of us have a habit. It's almost a lifestyle to be able to criticize and to be critical and to find faults and to knock down. But my mother always raised me, Brother Ed, always instilled in me that you never look down on anyone unless you're looking to pull them up. And
Yep.
Right.
if there's anything you can do to help someone, help them. And if you can't, make sure you're helping yourself. Because if you're not taking care of you, you can't take care of nobody else.
Right.
Absolutely. I like what you were. I like when you're talking about just the organization that the faith community and the political community can do at the same time. You're on the way to the men's meeting right now. When people are talking about the importance of
Who's
violence
on their way to
prevention
the men's meeting?
oh, I'm sorry, you're saying you're on your way to university.
University Heights. I'm already here trying to get out the car.
Okay. Oh,
Okay, good.
and you when you brought up the men's meeting, I just want to give a shout out that all over the country, people are looking at how do you lower crime, how do you create economic development and opportunity, and whether it be Brookings Institute or other people who are writing about how to deal with issues within our community, they say that it starts with men and making sure that men have jobs, that they have access to capital, that they have access to being able to start small businesses. And those things are incredibly important. And I think that more work has to be done to show the connection between the programs that came out in Newark, the violent prevention programs that came out in Newark, and the lower rates of crime, the higher rates of quality of life that exist right now.
You are 1000% correct. But there's more than just one thing that contributes to lowering crime. You know, we have households. We have parents. Many, there's so many aspects, components um, to dealing with all types of issues in our community. It's not just yes, economics plays a major part. It plays a major part. If folks don't have no money, they can't take care of their homes and they can't take care of themselves, they can't take care of their families. But you know what? I'm going to tell you, when you start talking about the brothers, you really got to think about the women.
Mm.
You can't do it. Women have been carrying and carrying so long that the truth is, we have actually, and I say this wholeheartedly because I am a woman, dropped the ball on the sisters.
Mm.
We're not even focusing on them. We're so busy thinking about what's going on with the brothers when the sisters are now misleading sisters just to take care of the brothers.
Mm.
I'm out there. So I know sometimes when I'm with some young women and I think about the things they say, I'm like, oh Lord, this ain't so good right here. You know, her mindset's not so good right here. Not that it's not being constructive to make sure she take care of the household, but how she taking care of you? What is she doing? How is she speaking into the life of this brother that she's covering down for? How is she encouraging him? You
Yeah,
know,
but
how is she, when you start talking about building up, so many, there are women that have, and you know, these are true stories. I know a sister that put her career on the line because her husband he's her husband now, wanted to go to college to be a doctor. She put her career on the line, supported him. He became a doctor. Now he don't even want her to work. She's going back to school. She's getting her master's now. But he told her, you don't never have to work a day in your life. No, she realizes I'm not going to do that because I'm going to do what I was going to do before I started supporting you.
mm.
So how are we, before I started, let you realize your dream. I'm going to take care of the house. She even had a child in the midst of it. So now she's taking care of a child. She's taking care of the man, the half of the bills, because he's going to be a doctor, which means you already know he ain't got time to do nothing but flip a hamburger for 2 hours. Because so I'm just saying, like, our standards have changed. Our standards have changed. And women,
What do you
our
mean by that?
sisters,
What do you mean
I'm,
by our standards have changed?
I'm saying that the standards for our sisters have changed. It's not that the process have changed, because there are many women that support our brothers so that they can be successful. What I'm saying is there are sisters that have lowered their standards for various reasons, whatever the reasons are.
Mm,
And I'm not saying it in a bad way, Jonathan. I'm saying that life has made circumstances for some of our sisters that they accept certain things in life that they really don't have to.
mm, mm.
And don't act like this is strange information to you, because you probably know some.
Of course. And what do you mean by that? Can you break it down even a little more? Like,
I don't
what are
want what
people
I don't
accepting
want to
that
do is
change?
have anyone think that it's a specific. It's not a specific. I mean, I can, if I get really raw about it or real about it, you know, and what happens is then the brothers get under attack. Because if you got, listen, if you got
But truth
sisters
is
out here,
truth.
yeah, if you got sisters out here hiding drugs, hiding guns, mothers protect. I know a young man that got killed because when he first went to the hospital and was shot, his family did not give his real identity. The next week he was dead because they released him and he had a warrant
Mm,
under his real name. I'm
mm.
just saying, sometimes we don't make the best decisions
Yeah.
because we're trying to protect, trying to cover down. And listen, ain't a perfect soul working on this earth. That's number one.
Yeah.
Not one perfect soul. Number
True.
two, didn't no manual come with raising no children. And unless you've had an example of a good household, a loving household, and I'm not saying that it had to be a husband and wife that had a great marriage. It could be a great mother that just knows how to love and encourage. Sometimes you have women and men that take out on children what's not right with them. And then that child has to internalize what's going on in their household. When I speak to elementary school students, the first thing I ask them is, how do you get to school? And I've had children tell me various people, various ways. Background and what's going on in your household can also cause you to act out in ways that, how can I put it? Act out in ways to draw attention to other things so they won't see what's really going on with you.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
I mean,
Yeah.
I got 6th, 7th, and 8th graders I went to talk to. I was telling the teacher, the social worker, I said, I have a different program. She said, no, please don't. This was about 7 years ago. She said, no, please don't. What I heard you say a week way, I need you to say to them. I said, wait a minute, hold on. We talking about 6th graders. They can't be. No, this is about 10 years ago. I was like, it can't be. It can't. I can't possibly. I mean, my mind couldn't even wrap around the same conversation I was having with juniors and seniors. She wanted me to have with elementary school students. I couldn't even. Anyway, let me go into school because we just done got. Oh, we've gotten so deep.
No, you got deep. Preach, Steve Roundtree. You the
Right.
leader.
True.
We following you.
Preachers preach.
Good morning. We're at University High School. How are you, sweetheart? Where's the girl?
Right, in the back right here.
Gotcha. Hello, darling. How are you? We are all politics are local. I want you all to know, those who are tuned in, or those who will tune in later, we're going to Women Rise. Rise. And after this, I go
Nice.
to one of my bonus godsons. Um, banquet. His banquet is tonight. Reverend Douglas L. Williams III is celebrating his 15th pastoral anniversary. And he's only 30 something. He's in his 30s, 39. He came there when he was 23. Yeah, 38. Yeah.
23.
Hello, everybody. How are you? Join us. Let me get the principal. She's going to be your next guest. Principal Nikki is going to be your next guest. I want you to be. Hey, sweetie. What's up, sugar? Listen, I want you to be my next guest on All Politics. So I told you I had a show and I was. So I have principal from University High School, Denise
An
Bush
amazing
and
principal.
Hamilton. Here you go. I'm going to put her on.
Miss
Hello.
Hamilton.
Good evening.
Hi, Miss Hamilton.
Good evening.
Hi. Hey, how are you?
Hey, good, good, good.
Good. We are live tonight. We are at university, but I'll give you a sneak peek into the girls' retreat we're having tonight. So the
Okay.
little
Okay.
ladies are there. We're celebrating and closing out Women's History Month with our young ladies and making them
That's
understand the importance of their excellence and being inspired by some women of excellence who have already paved the way for them.
Well,
awesome.
I've heard so much about you as a principal, how amazing and transformative you've been to university, high school over the years, whether it be the athletic teams or the debate and speech or the debate and speech teams, all of those things that you've done, the academics. Um, so yeah, congratulations, because I'm constantly hearing great news coming from the Phoenix.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We do it for our babies, right? So these are our young ladies and young men. I'm a graduate, a proud alum of University High School. This is where I started my journey.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
there are some
Congratulations.
amazing educators who impacted my life. So in the Phoenix way, we pay it forward. So this is my way of paying it forward.
Principal Kofele is sending you his regards. He's one of our regular uh, uh, participants and watchers and experts and all of that. He's sending you some love from afar. I want you to know that we got a lot of eyes on you today, Madam
All
Principal.
right. Hey, Principal Kafele. Yes, one of my role models and mentors. Definitely, he's an inspiration and has helped me along my journey. Learning from him, watching him, being inspired by him has definitely made an impact on my why as a principal.
Yes, ma'am. As
So tell us about the program that's going on tonight and any other really good news that is coming from university.
Sure. So tonight, again, we are closing out Women's History Month. During the day today, we had a Pearl celebration with women within University High School, as well as some women who have been a part of the University High School, some former educators. So we had a pure all ladies women's assembly this afternoon where our young ladies performed, our young ladies celebrated each other and received inspiring words from each other. So we celebrated everyone from our cafeteria and food services staff to our safety officers to our teachers and of course some of our administrators. It takes a whole village and sometimes we minimize the importance of some people's role in the school, but everyone's role in the school is significant. And so the happiness, the celebration of the entire fabric of the Phoenix family and the women who make up the Phoenix family with what's happening during the day. Tonight, we actually have an overnight retreat where our young ladies are coming together again in sisterhood. My shirt is a shirt each of the young ladies have. When my sister wins, I win. And that is the theme of tonight's event. So we are coming together. Again, we have workshops planned out for them. We have motivational speakers planned out for them. And then we just also have some fun for them to just have kick it together, dance together, celebrate each other, and just have a good time. You know, we put so much pressure on young people these days to be great, and we want them to be that, but we also have to teach them self-care, self-love, and how to love each other.
Now, you say you graduated. Now you graduated from university. You are from Newark, from from this community. Is it different being a young woman today than it was when you were growing up? If so, what are some of the challenges that they have that you might not have had?
I absolutely think it's different. The reality of what has changed over time is real. One, we can start with the access and realities of social media. That puts a whole different level of pressure to me on young people. Pressure to be meet certain standards that were not a reality. It's kind of like this all eyes on you at all times thing. So I think that level of pressure is really different. And I think being able to manage that pressure, being able to manage the access is reality. I also think just some of the things in the communities have also changed. Newark has a number of amazing programs and opportunities, but there are also the realities of certain pressures. Some that existed, as a young person, I think that are real and that I can relate to, but some that have been magnified as well over time. And I think our young people, just navigating that. But I also think, on a positive, there are a number of great opportunities for our young people. Last week, for example, we just celebrated one of our students, first generation college student. She received a full ride, tuition, and room and board to Bentley University. So we surprised her. Her mother came in, non-English speaking parent, but just so excited and understanding the importance of education and access. And for her to have this opportunity, I don't know that it happens every day, but I do know that it's real. And we've had a number of students this year alone in our class of 2026 who have benefited from, full rides. And in this climate, today's reality, I think
That is
that's
a
the more
huge
important.
gift. Huge
Absolutely.
gift.
Absolutely.
Principal, can I ask you a question? Do you think it makes a difference that, and I'm going to include myself in it, just to say, do you think it makes a difference for those of us who are from Newark to come back and be the principal in a particular school that we were once students in ourselves? Like, for instance, John Austin going back to science and being not only a teacher, but, a great debate coach for the school or in the school that he was a student at. You think that makes a difference?
I think it is a difference maker. I will say first, I think loving children and loving what you do is the most significant thing, whether you're within the community or not. But do I think it makes a difference with regard to perspective, with regard to what motivates you, with regard to your why, similarities you can see? And also, it's just important for our young people to see people who look like them in positions of leadership. And also the lens and perspective from our own experiences that we take into the work we do is significant in some of the decision making, some of the programming. I try to be really intentional about some of the programming, and sometimes I remember first transitioning here and having conversations about we have to do this, we have to focus on the academics, this, and I said absolutely we do. But we also can't ignore that we are dealing with young Black and brown children from our city and the realities that come with that. And so you also have to weave that into the fabric of what we're doing day to day.
I
I
think
think coming from university definitely gave me a different perspective. It also gave me a different level of tenacity and wanting it to work and being willing to do, make the sacrifices to make it work. Being a principal for anyone is not an easy job, but it's one I think that is very rewarding. And when you're and your why, and when you're grounded and looking into the eyes of these young people and seeing them beyond where you are, I think it definitely makes it easier. And I definitely think it's like the most rewarding thing possible for a student to recognize, the limitless opportunities that exist for them at the hands of what happens in the community. And I'll end with last today, we had a student perform at the Pearls event, and this is her first year here. She came in extremely shy, but she was able to memorize this poem that we do at university. The I Am poem is actually by Mayor Racquel, who's a graduate of university, and the poem we do daily. And because she memorized it and we encouraged her to recite it at Summer Bridge, she's now on the nationally ranked speech and debate team, right? So she went from this student who didn't see herself as possible of even standing up in front of her school community. Now she's on a national stage, right? And for me, that's what it's about. It's about helping our young people peel back layers, helping our young people grow confident so that they can walk into any space that they choose for career paths, for college and education paths, and have the level of confidence to impact those environments, but also to grab on to everything that they want to become leaders in those spaces.
I just want to give a shout out to your speech team and to the coach, Saul Grion. He is literally one of the best speech coaches in the entire country. And he is known throughout the university high school is known throughout the country and in a short amount of time. He's not been there for long, but
Yeah.
he's made such an incredible impact. It has just been impressive watching him and all of the success that's been coming to university. As a matter of fact, even I think about a year ago, you had a science person who's doing speech for university and doing very well, right? Like, so, because, if you don't have a speech team, then that you can go to other schools. Like, if you don't have a debate team, then you can debate for other schools. We did that for one of our kids who wanted to do speech, and he ended up doing incredibly well. So you have when you're talking about your speech team, I just wanted to give a special shout out and a special shout out to your coach. You literally have one of the best speech squads in all of the United States, and that is not in exaggeration. You can tell that by the national accolades that you've won. I believe you've been in multiple final rounds. You've had champions at the National High School Tournament of Champions in speech. In the last few years, they literally have been tearing up the United States. And these are some, and they are besting some of the best and most elite schools in the country. So in case, I know you know this, right? But understand that people who are fans of this, like myself, excuse me, also know and appreciate and appreciate what you do for that, because I know as a debate coach, if I don't get support from my principal and I don't get support from the people in our building, then we can't be successful. So I know that anytime someone has something that successful and that consistently successful, it's because of the investment that was put into it by the leadership at that school. So congratulations to you as well.
Thank you. And thank
Why
you for telling
can't
us. Yeah.
we get stories like that in the Chalk Beat and the Star Ledger? All them other people. Y'all know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, Chalk Beat.
That
is not gonna
anti-milk
cover this,
bias is real, and whenever we can snatch some narrative and tell the stories of our glories, we need to turn the volume all the way up.
Yeah. So thank you so much for that.
What I wanted to add, John, is that when she was talking, about her being a former student like you, that was one of the things that Mayor Baraka had said early on when he was a principal, and he had talked about being able to understand the kids helped tremendously. And if you remember when Lauren Wells said that when the mayor discovered that when he was at Central, the kids were not, he said that the kids weren't necessarily failing because they couldn't do the work, and they weren't necessarily failing or sitting in the front of the class because they just wanted to sit in the back. The truth is that they were embarrassed because they really couldn't see the board, and they really didn't know how to say that they needed to have their eyes checked. And had not it been for the mayor or community school and them understanding that, they would never have been able to make the changes that they made in terms of increasing the graduation rate when he was there as a principal, because he said what made a difference is that he saw himself in those kids every day, right? And hearing you say that, Principal, I think that is one of the things that makes, me, but us feel good when you say that, right? To say that I was once these kids, right? So when you come in, you see yourself every day and you understand. And the other thing the mayor said he said, we come from this place and we understand how difficult it can be coming from where we come from every day. Absolutely. And be expected not only to succeed in that class, but also be expected to go back home and find a way to be able to do your homework and come in the next day and be prepared. This is a tough place, and we need people who understand us like you. So I want to say congratulations to you. And I'm kind of upset. I don't remember you ever being on our show.
She has been.
She's on there tonight.
Yeah.
And she has been on our show before.
Yes, I have.
Yeah,
I remember.
Yes. Aisha has brought her on the show multiple times. I think this is the third time on the show.
See how God works when we take the show on the road?
Yeah.
You don't know who's going to show up. I did a show from Cityplex one night. I had Larry there. I was like, yeah, put me on that.
Good Roundtree will get you on, put you on the side.
I had to go pray at an event. I said, yeah, you're on the show tonight.
That's true.
That's the drafted preacher.
You got to come on here. But this is amazing. This is a good segue into, and I'm glad that she was available because we just finished talking about our girls and how we dropped the ball with them. And that's one thing that Principal Hamilton makes sure of. So, in the things that she's doing and the program she's implementing can probably reverse some of the states of mind of our young women that think that they have to hold down the man in the wrong way. In this society, in this urban society, where some of our young men are making, they're not making the best decisions. Some of them, not all of them. But we don't want it to be so when our girls come out of Spelman or when they come out of Howard or wherever they come from that they can't find nobody because the brothers have made the decisions and the ratio is smaller for the women's choices than it is for the men. So what? What'd you say?
Yes, it is. I'm agreeing with you.
So she's pulling it forward, and this is what it's our responsibility to be our sister's keeper. It's our responsibility, the elders, the young women that are doing both. They have this saying that they call the elders for their, I say the seasoned for their wisdom, and the young for their strength. But the truth is that there's some young people that have some wisdom as well. And you can't just throw it away and act like we know it all. We are the end all with all. You got to listen to what we say. No, because we've made some mistakes too.
Absolutely.
And so we've got to hear our young women, and we got to see what's going on with them and listen, I tell people all the time, you hear us, but are you listening? And people will say to me, "Oh, Rountree, we hear you and we surely listening." I said, "No, let me tell you what listening is. Listening is when your mother told you don't go down that street and you heard her, but you didn't listen because you went anyway. And when you went down there, what was down that street was not a good thing. So you didn't listen. You heard her, but if you listened, your actions would have been different because you wouldn't have gone down that street. And that's what we have to try to do our best to get folks to not,
Teaching good judgment.
That's it. Now you're going to do what you want to do anyway, and hearing and listening us is one thing. But I told somebody a long time ago, nobody had to put a needle in my arm for me to know that the outcome would mean that if I kept doing it, I'd be a junkie. And because I knew it, I didn't want it. But some people just want to test it and say, it ain't going to happen to me. Well, I'm a true believer that it will happen to me, so I'm not going to do it. But that's not everyone's stance. That's not everyone's ability. That's not everyone's strength. Some folks got to try it, and it's okay to make a mistake. That's why I guess they put, what's that saying? They put erasers on pencils. But if you know better, you do better. So you don't just keep making the same mistakes over and over again. And we want our girls to realize, especially in this day and age, from the 5th grade on up to when they leave high school, that they are great, they are beautiful, they are fearfully and wonderfully made, that they're going to be somebody. And you got to keep saying it because repetition is the mother of learning.
Yeah.
You can't take a child to the bathroom at 3 and say, here, brush your teeth, and think they're going to get up the next day and go brush them.
Right.
The next day, you're going to say, did you brush your teeth? And they're going to be like, no. And then you got to walk them back to the bathroom. The 3rd day, I don't feel like, come on, you're going to have stinky breath, you got to brush your teeth. So that's why they say repetition is the mother of learning. Going to the bathroom is a whole nother story. They got to wait till they finish, get tired of sitting in it before they go ahead and change that posture. But you got to keep on, and you got to be consistent. Dr. Hamilton is consistent. She is consistent. She's not one way this week and another way next week. Racquel is consistent.
Yep.
He's not. I don't care what nobody say. He's
Right.
consistent. He's not changing for nobody. Me and Dr. Hamilton and LaMonica, my Rowley, Congresswoman, we'll tell you in a heartbeat. Just like he said, we don't scratch where we don't itch, and we don't dance when ain't no music playing. It's just not what we do. It's just not what we do. And that's a blessing to realize that you are free. Some people are still bound in their minds, which means they really cannot help our babies.
Yeah.
Because they have yet not freed themselves. I never. Okay, good. Okay, good. So I got to go pray and give words to the girls.
Okay.
I probably will let somebody else. You can talk to security, and you can talk to. But listen, April 25th, I will be doing a grief symposium at the Priory. I just had a meeting with 75 clergy. You know what season we're in? We're in election season.
Right.
We're in election season. And it is so critical. When I said I'm a problem solver, not a problem starter, you can't fix everything. Are they ready for me? Oh, look at one of our little students coming through. Um, you know, and so I'm so thankful that how and I take nothing away from nobody because God gave everyone their own mind, their own mouth, a different fingerprint. I'm just thankful that I was structured to not allow negativity to take up residency in my mind or in my soul.
Right.
That is a gift, and a lot of people can't do that. You're not going to take up no rent in my head, and you ain't paying. I mean, no space in my head, and you're not paying rent. That's
Right.
just not happening. You know, I'm gonna love everybody. I'm gonna respect everybody. Someone was talking about the Christian flag being raised on Sunday. We raise every flag there is for humanity, for the community. You
But
know,
Ron,
and
Right.
what's crazy is that they just realizing it, but they've been doing it for the last 8 years.
Yep.
This is the first year the Flat Muslims ran the Islamic flag. They raised it. This is the first year. First year.
Wow.
No, but this is, and that was done by Amina Bay. Now I have iftars, and I do all the faces. I do an iftar for the Muslims. I'm doing Ramadan. To the Christians, I bring them both together. I mean, this movement is not about your. Listen, you're supposed to love each other. That's part of why we're so divided in our communities because we're so busy looking at what you believe. And I listen, if you're believing wrong, it isn't even up to me to sit in the seat of judgment. God gonna take care of that. I
Right.
believe that God is going to take. I do not believe that it is my assignment to persecute you or none of that. If God gave you an assignment, just do it and leave me alone. Let me do mine.
That's right.
Because I'm not going to let you get in the way of me doing mine, nor what I believe. And I believe that the only way that I'm going to be able to make it through this life that God gave me is to unify people and love all people. Because God didn't create A and me. We did. God didn't create Presbyterian. We did. God didn't create Pentecostal. We did. So while man created all of these different organizations, groups, and entities because of their belief, go ahead. And I fellowship with all of you, as long as you're loving each other and as long as you're doing something for the people.
Yes, ma'am.
Because the
Yeah.
scripture in Matthew does, ain't no way in 66 books they done wrote the whole world history from the beginning of time. And the 66 books of the Bible can't very well cover everything that's happened in the last 4,000. I just can't. There's just no way. The book ain't big enough.
But the principles are.
The principles are, but it's not. That's why people don't realize why they created seminary. So they call the Bible basic instructions before leaving earth. Basic instructions before leaving earth. But that's not all that your life should be predicated on. The one thing out that whole book, that holy writ that I stand on as my first foundation is the greatest commandment to me. And that's love ye one another as I have loved you. Yes, you got the 10 commandments that I'm sure somebody break one of them every day. And you gotta, but the truth is, if we can learn, the problem with loving you one another is that some of us don't love ourselves.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very difficult to love somebody else and that goes back to how what you saw coming up as a child. I was shown so much love and watched my parents be hurt by some of the very people, family and everything that they took care of, that they fed, that they housed. I saw that. I didn't hear about it. I didn't read about it. I lived it, but that's not what they displayed to me. They displayed to me love. And they showed love to those individuals, which is why I guess I'm like I am. You know, people look at me and be like, wow, you're different. Yes, I am. I am. I mean, I have people, even the mayor says, he says, even people that are trying to hurt me, I don't know who they are, but I'm sure the talk of people that say things or whatever. The truth of the matter is, I'm not the one who is going to come for you with my receipts because, truth be told, I've been in Newark all my life for real. I know some stories too. I can go on social media with some stuff about people too. That's not what God has put in me. He wants me to stay focused on my assignment. Let the folks do what they do, Baba. Let them talk. Let them lie. Let them attack. That's look good. Have a good day. I love you. And I do believe our community would be such a better place if he wasn't so busy finding fault in individuals. No, we're not perfect, but neither is you. Nobody is. And everybody makes mistakes. And if you pull out the life script on some of the people that might come for you or that might argue about you or ridicule you or mistreat you or that are not or think that you're not doing the best that you could do and put their life on a screen, they would crawl out like a snake. So I didn't know where this show was going tonight because it was really about empowering our women. We're in Women's History Month. I was at Weequahic High School today, and the shirt said, "We're confident, we're bold, we're happy, we're beautiful." And I went through every word that they had in the little 5-10 minutes I had and told them, "You are beautiful, you are bold, and you are enough. And don't let nobody tell you as a woman you're not enough just because you didn't do something to or meet the standards of someone that might have been less than the standards you should have been having for yourself."
Standards matter.
Standards matter everywhere. Standards matter in the church. Standards matter on the job. Standards matter in your life. But first of all, standards matter with you. Because if you don't set any standards for yourself, the integrity goes right out the window with it.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that's
Right out the window. And for those who get to see this and ear hustle, the truth of the matter is, I'ma love you regardless. I'ma love Newark. I'm gonna love the people. I'm gonna love what I do, and I'm not gonna stop because of you. I just dropped the bar. Principal Kafele, Principal Kafele is one of the most profound, phenomenal educators. I remember being at a protest with him across from Weequahic High School. I saw the picture some years ago. I remember being at another one. I don't think he was at this one when we were going through trying to get working on getting local control. So education is key to everything. People perish for the lack of knowledge. That's scripture too.
Yes, it
You
is.
know, and not everything you know is necessarily a fact. I tell people all the time, don't tell me, "Oh, I got the knowledge of that." I'm like, yeah, that just because you know it don't mean it's the truth. You can know something doesn't make it a fact.
but Roundtree, I need to just tell you something,
Yes,
right?
sir.
Just to be real clear. One is that you already know this, right? I'm telling you something, but you already know. You anointed, right? You already know that, right?
Yes, sir.
And the thing about it is, Roundtree, is that you are operating amongst a group of people who don't really understand your assignment, right? And
Yes.
so the other part of that is that you don't really. I mean, the Roundtree, nobody can keep up with you. First off, right? Nobody. I don't know anyone in politics, out of politics, want to be in politics that can keep up with Roundtree, right?
She ain't
And
stood still more than 2 minutes.
that's right, and the thing is, Roundtree, is that we all love you, right?
Thank
And
you.
so your anointing goes before you. You already know the Bible says your talent will make room for you
Yes.
amongst kings and
Yes.
queens, right? So you
Yes.
are doing all of that love. I mean, you think about what the principal said when she came on. She said Roundtree would just put you in situations. Right? Roundtree, you do that to all of us, right?
But positive because you
Oh
all have
yeah.
something to offer. And at that moment, because I could have easily not even come to the school, because she told me, she said, you got so much to do, just go straight to where you're going.
Yeah.
And God said to me, with all I got to do, because they're going to be there till 11 o'clock, blessing my godson. But these girls, God has told me is my first priority, that I need to come see them and
Yeah.
let them know that I love them and I'm here for them and to bless them. I came in the door, they was like, oh my God, you look so beautiful. Where you going? I said, to see you,
That's right. There you go, Roundtree.
to
But
see
but
you.
Roundtree, but listen to this, Roundtree. When they decide to say to somebody, if you want to be a councilwoman, look in the dictionary. It's going to be your picture, right?
Man, let me tell you something.
It's your work, Roundtree, and that's just true. And you see what LaMonica is saying. We like
Congresswoman just gave you some love.
Wait a minute. That's, I miss this
You coming back
girl.
on the
I
show,
miss this
daughter?
woman. I miss this Shiro. I miss this phenomenal example of what strength as a mother, as a wife, as a legislator. I miss her. You hear me, sis? She gonna be on my television show this month, but I miss her. And that was her bestie I just put on the spot. I just had Nikki on. Walked in here to say hi to the girls. I love me some her. And I pray for her daily, just like I do my man. But I really pray for her because she is daily. She is daily dealing with the enemies of this universe, daily dealing with racism, daily dealing with people that are trying to bury her, mentally and socially. But I'm here to tell you, Congresswoman,
Legally.
that you already know the word, that
that.
no weapon formed against you gonna prosper. I don't care how they try it, how they try to buy it, how they feel it, how they kneel on it, how they see it, how they try to be it, whatever it is not going to prosper. This is just a test. That's
Right.
all it is. And how you come out, you've been passing it with flying colors. And they looking for an F, not a final, but a failure. But what they don't know is that you got an A for serving an awesome God and being an awesome, powerful sister. And I know that heavy is the head that wears the crown, and she goes through, she's a human being. She's human. So we got to keep pouring into women that she's a little girl from Newark that came from, what's that song? I made it from the bottom up. We all did, because even though people think I was raised in a mansion, there was a time when there was a low point in my life.
Mhm.
But I know for a fact that that's not where God wanted me to stay. And he didn't want me to stay, so I did it God's way. Shut up and move with the Lord. And this is what LaMonica has done. Our Congresswoman is representing us on a federal level. And with all of that being said, Sister Maroli, oh my God, I'm almost ready to cry. I pray for you every day. I pray for you in my spirit. I
We all
pray for Zaya. I pray for Khalif. I pray for Robin, because she has sisters and brothers. She has a family. And when you're going through, you know your family's going through too. So I love you, Congresswoman. I love you, Ed. I love you, Baba. You know it. I love you, Jonathan, because you didn't hit the gavel. I guess he didn't hit it because he was late. He was late, so he didn't let me go over a couple of
Well,
minutes.
it's only 2 minutes, right? Like normally
Listen,
it's
you
like
normally be at
10 minutes.
6:55. 6:55, you be like, listen, you have 5 more minutes.
He was late.
At 7 o'clock, Brother Ed, listen. I'm going to do something I'm going to have all of you on Faith and Community.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, we're going to do a news and views with Faith and Community. Baba, now we can't, that second language you have, like we won't be able to do that one on that show.
Okay.
I'm a good Muslim, and I got that ancestral stuff rolling with me too.
Listen, I already know. You know what I did today? I took a tour of the oldest church. My girlfriend, one of my sisters, is now the pastor of the first church in Newark that was built in
Nice.
1666
Yes,
down on Broad.
I've been trying to get her on the show.
Dr. Cal, well, I'll have her on my next show.
Yes.
That she's going to be on my show. She's coming the same day LaMonica is to do a taping, but I'm going to have her come and
It's talking about Reverend Carolyn
Carol
Patterson.
Patterson. Yep.
Good
So we did a tour of the underground, and she gave me the information on what it's going to look like and the plan for it. So when you start talking about ancestral, right here in Newark, we walking on
Got the trail.
sacred ground. We walking on
Got
sacred
the trail.
ground. Some of the streets you ride by,
MJ
some of the
Pat
streets that
was
we
on a
walk.
burial ground
Oh yes.
of our
So
ancestors.
that's it.
Huh?
So I'm gonna have Dr.
Got
Patterson on as our
the
next
trail.
guest.
But
April
Roundtree,
20, yes, sir. April 25th, grief symposium at the Priory Restaurant. Some folks are grieving, don't even know they're grieving, and don't realize how they're acting out the way they are.
Good
I'm
stuff.
doing mental health seminars. I'm going to start sending you guys the flyers on a weekly basis of what I'm doing so you can talk about it, or at least announce it. Like I said, the mayor's having his meeting tonight. April 17th will be his next meeting for the Black Agenda. It'll be in Atlantic City at the Tropicana. The Alphas are hosting that in Atlantic City last night. He had a wonderful policy and Prosecco event. He's on the move. And guess what? I'm telling y'all something. I tell folks all the time, if you're walking with someone and they're moving forward, it doesn't matter. And I tell the clergy this because faith leaders do struggle with, and not just faith leaders, struggle with leadership from others because it's hard to get in line with someone when you've been leading something. So what keeps us back a lot of times is that if we're not in front of it, we just don't want to be a part of it. And that's not necessarily how we should be thinking. I can't tell folks how to think. I'm just of the mindset that if you're moving forward and I grab your coat, that means I'm moving forward with you. But if I'm going to hold if I'm pulling you back and you're moving forward, then ain't neither one of us going nowhere. We all going backwards. So I'm not going to do that. I want my sisters to excel. I want them to expect. You know what? Children come back to me and say that I spoke to that was struggling. I have some to come back and thank me when they get grown, and I have some to come back and say, "I wish I'd listened to you." Are you ready? No, 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 no. No. I'm coming back. Oh, you ready to eat? Ready for me to pray? I'm
And
ready.
all
all
right.
right, so thank you so much for
Yeah,
coming on, and
love
again,
you.
and we look
We
forward
love you,
to
Roundtree.
next month,
I love
and we
you.
also are going to get those. We're going to talk about guests and all that stuff because I love your ideas.
We
Yes.
love you, Roundtree.
Let's get that going so
Big
the
time.
disciples can
Yeah.
invite some other disciples that are doing work in the community, along with some community folks that can talk about things that, because we want our audience to become diverse and we want to start sharing. But then, look, listen, let's be
Yeah,
clear. Who you trying to reach? Who you trying to reach?
People.
Everybody.
right,
That's right.
right.
If you trying to reach everybody, you need some everybody on here that might want to tune in. I tell the senior citizens, listen, I don't know if you got Zoom or not, but we can ready to talk about Medicaid. Y'all need to come on and tune in.
Again,
We get ready.
and
Listen, we get ready to talk about housing benefits. Any homeless folk out there? We get ready to talk about some jobs. Y'all need
yep,
some jobs? Let me tell you where the next 5 jobs. How about expungement? We
and
get ready to do 2 expungement events. How about
and
y'all need a driver's license? Call my office. I'm just saying.
okay,
Round
okay,
up.
Reverend Councilwoman,
Round
we
up.
have we're thanking you for this week. We have our guest on, and we will
Hi, yes.
look forward to it coming on
I love you
next
all.
month.
Thank you for
Love you
thank
back.
you. And for
Love
those
you
who are
back.
watching, thank you for joining All Politics and Local, America's number one political hip hop, Facebook Live. Facebook. God bless you. Have a great weekend and happy Holy Resurrection Week to those who are going to be celebrating Palm Sunday and the reason for the season the following week. God bless you all. God bless All Politics and Local.
Thank you, Roundtree.
Thank you,
All
thank you,
right.
Reverend Roger. All right, take care. All right, so we are getting ready to have our next guest on, but they are having some technical difficulties. Catherine O'Leary from Pax Christiana, uh, and or Catherine O'Leary from Pax Chrsti, New Jersey. They're going to talk about the Good Friday Long March to Delany Hall. I think we're going to look at, while she's coming on and getting ready to come on, I want to give another shout out to our Congresswoman LaMonica MacGyver. I
This is
think
right
that
on
this
time.
case
Great
at
segue.
Delany Hall is incredibly important. I think that her case dealing with the the Justice Department's intimidation of congressional members, I think that is important to have a discussion about. That is ongoing. I think that we can't let that get out of the news, that she is literally being prosecuted for doing her job
Looking at 17 years.
and was the first of many, right? And so when people talk about how Black women are often treated and targeted, especially now, I think we should look at the way in which this Black woman was targeted deliberately as being one of the first elected officials prosecuted like this. We know that Ras Baraka was targeted and prosecuted, and they started to prosecute him, but they ended up dropping that, and they ended up going after the councilwoman in the same incident when they know they were wrong, and they know that the federal authorities were lying about what happened. So all of that is clear, all of that is there, but we still have this situation where our congresswoman is being prosecuted by what is clearly now a vindictive and lawless Justice Department. And I would say it's, when we call it a Justice Department now, it is clearly ironic.
Yeah,
So Zaid, tell us about the guest. Tell us about the march that's going on.
let's. I mean, this is a great segue. I'm glad she chimed in on the chat. I look forward to her getting back on, and I hope she's still listening and observing. And I wanted to hear the fact that this is indeed a home for her, and we wish we had her just as regularly as we had her predecessor, right? This is that kind of home and space for her. I want her to hear that again and to appreciate that. Let me just reach out to our guest because she's having tech issues with her camera, right? But ironically, as all of that unfolded at Delany Hall is still, a key battleground in this area, in this state.
Right.
In
Right.
December, we lost Julius Wilson Brutus at Delany Hall, a young Haitian brother, just having some medical issues, denied access to medical care, and he died. And that's all we know. There's been no investigation, because one of these things about this particular brand of policing, there are no rails. There are no guide rails with ICE. They're just doing whatever the hell they want, and are being given this agenda of aggressive immunity, right? That makes them an absolute clear and present danger in our community. But what we want to look at is that Kathy, PAX Chrsti, New Jersey, one of a number of organizations, at least 7 to 10 organizations, began to literally are at Delany Hall every day of the week, providing mutual aid and support to those families trying to figure out what's going on with their loved ones on the inside. And to the best of their ability, being a vigilant beacon of support and solidarity as a presence on the outside of Delany Hall. And I hope she could really get back on, because I really don't want to lose it, because this is a really powerful thing that they go. There you go. There you go.
Took me a little bit, but I figured it out.
Right? Well, I was trying to bring you on, and Kathy, I was trying to tell everybody about the presence of so many organizations who are rolling regular at Delany in the aftermath of what happened to Mayor Baraka, and the aftermath of what happened to Congressman Taifa. We lost Julius Brutus Wilson inside that awful place.
Yeah.
And was that something that was something as preventable as a toothache? Was it something like, in terms of the way in which he died, it was something that was very, very preventable, but didn't have access to health care? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, I mean that's most deaths in prison, right? That they're not people dying of natural causes. These are folks that are dying of neglect or abuse, and it doesn't matter what part of the carceral system you're in. We all suffer from the same. They all suffer from the same things, and it's it is the dehumanization of mass incarceration. It is the dehumanization that happens with our legislators who say that some lives are disposable, and it's then the profit taking that happens in all our carceral spaces that turns people into units of profit as opposed to children of God, and that is what some Catholic bishops have referred to as an invitation for abuse, but it's also a very dangerous situation for people whose rights have been taken away and whose liberty has been taken away, who cannot advocate actively for themselves, that they end up in situations where minor medical issues become fatal.
Indeed. Kathy, let me just I want you, it's better that you tell the story than I do.
Mm-hmm.
But tell the story first from the vantage point of your own faith space and from your vantage point as an organizer,
Mm-hmm.
how that coalition of organizations came together to do what you're doing.
The coalition's been decades in the making. It goes back to the 90s, to the mid to late 90s, when folks were organizing to try to provide services to people in the Elizabeth Detention Center, and there's intersections too with people who are organizing around the prisons and jails here in New Jersey and trying to do things like get bail reform passed and to get a limit on the use of solitary confinement. So there's been a lot of cross-pollination, a lot of learning from each other over the years. But there was a very strong base of support for making sure that Delany Hall did not reopen. It was closed for about 2 years. Prior to this last iteration. It's been around since about 2000. For people who don't know where it is, it's in the most industrial section of Newark. It's something that the local environmental organizers call Chemical Corridor.
Section of Newark. Yes.
Yes, it is. It's not very far from the Diamond Alkali site that produced Agent Orange during the Vietnam War. It's across the street from petrochemical plant, the transfer energy that turned the fire hoses on the protesters at Standing Rock. So all of the issues that organizers work on intersect actually on Doremus Avenue. It's also next door to the Essex County Jail. And that was by design as well, because it was used as overflow for many years from the Essex County Jail. But yeah, actually, it was about a week prior to Mayor Baraka being taken into custody. And I don't like to say arrested because ICE does not have the authority to arrest U.S. citizens. So what they did was, they took him into custody, but it was basically a kidnapping in broad daylight.
Can you repeat that? Because I don't think a lot of people know that.
Yeah.
I don't think people so are you saying that legally ICE does not have the authority to arrest American citizens?
Yeah. No, ICE is charged with, they're given the authority to enforce immigration law. They do not have the authority. They are not charged with enforcing trespassing rules. That would be the local police. It wouldn't even be the FBI. If the FBI were there, they wouldn't be arresting him for trespassing. So yeah, that was completely illegal from every angle, which I think you can see how swiftly the charges were dropped.
But the charges weren't dropped against our Congresswoman, LaMonica McGiver, and that has been going through courts.
Well, I don't know if you noticed, but they were, it seemed to me like they were like focus group testing their talking points on social media. And the angry black man was not sticking, but the angry black woman was. And they went after LaMonica because of that, I think.
So you think that, so in your, in terms of looking at it, especially from the media observers, you think that, again, Black women have been attacked by this administration almost thematically. It seems like a thing. And you're saying that the way in which they're coming after our Congresswoman can be very, very similar to the way in which they've been attacking Black women very specifically in DEI, in higher ed, in places where Black women have almost uniquely thrived. Them going after Black women in this way is very similar to the way that they're going after our Congresswoman.
She's an exemption.
And you're saying it's,
yeah, their misogyny, their racism, and their xenophobia all intersected, and it made for a very good, a very good soundbite.
okay.
Oh man.
So anyhow, so about a week before Mayor Baraka was taken into custody, a friend of mine, Terry Seuss, who's an ethical humanist, said,
the reporter Terry Seuss?
Yeah, Terry. Yes.
I haven't seen her in years. She used to be with the Ledger.
Yep.
Yeah,
so
okay.
she's, Terry Seuss. She's a member of Peace Action. I think she's actually getting an award for Peace Action. So she's and she's part of the Ethical Culture Society in Essex County, and she's was a longtime resident of Newark. She said she was she reminded me that all made she as the atheist reminded me the person of faith that all major religions have this teaching, a major teaching about welcoming the stranger and being showing hospitality to the foreigner, right? So she said her idea was, let's go there before the place opens. Let's remind the people who are going to be working there that this is not an ethical thing to be doing, and maybe we'll appeal to people's consciences, and if this all works, we'll create a labor shortage for the prison, and maybe we'll slow down the opening of it. But they were actually supposed to open in June or July, but I think everybody knows they rushed the opening for May 1st. So she had started like April 29th going down there on a regular basis, and I came like May 2nd. And then the city of Newark decided to ramp up its efforts to try to keep the place from opening or becoming fully operational, because at that point they had already moved people in. And Mayor Baraka started coming down at the same time too. And then a large number of other organizations joined us. So we were going there every morning from like 7:30 to 9:30 or something like that. It was really early, and holding vigil. And what we realized after 2 weeks was that we were really exhausted and we couldn't keep up that schedule ourselves. So we sat down and we looked at, how can we make this sustainable? And what we did was we created a vigil where various groups were picking 1 day a week, and to pick a 2-hour slot 1 day a week when you'll sit vigil. And it didn't take us too long. We filled out 5 days pretty quickly. And then within a couple of weeks, we had filled out 7 days a week of people being down there. And what happened was, we thought it was going to be this, this more of a protest, right? That we were going to watch ICE. We were going to see how they operated. We were going to take like notes and figure out like maybe how we could use, the information that we had to our advantage in some way to put pressure on the facility or on ICE themselves. But we didn't factor in the visitors who were going to come, and the visitors started coming, and we started seeing how they were being treated.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. And there's one pivotal moment in June when we were there with the Interfaith Coalition of New York, and a young woman had come all the way from Massachusetts. And that was the time when they were doing Operation Patriot, which is one of those, like intensive, like month-long raids, series of raids. And they ended up taking 1,200 people into custody, and a lot of them came to Delany Hall. So she was there to see her father, had driven 4 hours, but she was wearing ripped jeans, and ripped jeans were against the dress code. So they weren't going to let her in.
Oh
So there was another young woman who was there from the Episcopal Diocese of New York. They're about the same size. And she said, well, I have my friend's keys to their minivan. Let's go off into the minivan and we'll change pants. We'll switch pants. And the young woman got to go in. My friend Ashley got a new pair of pants. And we started realizing that we really should be there for the visitors. And that getting people in to see their family members was a powerful act of resistance in and of itself.
I bet.
So what we had learned from our past lives, right, at Elizabeth Detention Center, that hope is a very powerful thing, right? And not just, we don't just know that, right? But ICE knows it too. And so do the operators of the facility, which is one of the reasons why they make it difficult to visit. So back in the late 90s, the Archdiocese of Newark and the Jesuit Refugee Services were doing Bible study inside of the Elizabeth Detention Center. And the priest wrote on the board, "I was in prison and you visited me," because that was the gospel for the week.
Indeed.
And they got thrown out because the warden said they were giving people too much hope. So it's not just like what we know intuitively, it's actually what they've told us.
Hold on, wait, stop. Can you repeat that?
Yes.
Like I don't understand.
Gotta put a pin in
You're
there.
saying
That's right.
you got it from the warden himself. Give us this story, slow it down, talk to us.
Sure. So this is back in the 90s at the Elizabeth Detention Center. There was a program with the Archdiocese of Newark to do a Bible study inside of the Elizabeth Detention Center for the people who were detained inside. So the priest wrote on the board, and it was the gospel for the week. He wrote part of the gospel for the week on the board. "I was in prison and you visited me." And the warden said, you are not welcome here anymore. You have to leave because you are giving people too much hope.
That's my kind of party. So after all these
Just wow.
Yeah. In the richest, most powerful so-called democracy on earth, look at the hypocrisy that we're facing and how inhumane and how ugly it can be.
Right.
That's
right. And all this, like, and particularly right now, we're like wrapping ourselves not just in the flag, but but also we're wrapping the cross in the flag, right? And yet we've always, the hypocrisy has been so thick. We have never lived up to our ideals. Even if you do believe the Judeo-Christian narrative that they're trying to sell, right? That's what our country's based on. They've never lived up to that. They've never lived up to the welcoming of people from other countries. The welcome mat has always been out when they needed labor, right? So it's kind of not a coincidence that when slavery was ending, that migration from Ireland and Eastern Europe was accelerating, right? And it's also not a coincidence that when those same immigrants brought in labor unions, that's when the the door started to close.
Indeed. Indeed. Ooh.
Wow.
Ooh.
So you were breaking it down. And you belong to a Christian organization,
A Catholic, actually.
a Catholic, right? A Catholic organization. You are doing work that talks about valuing the stranger.
Mhm.
You are talking about protest, giving of your time and life based on love. There are a lot of people. There are very specifically evangelicals, there are Catholics, there are many people who call themselves Christians who not only support ICE,
Mhm.
they support funding it. They were instrumental in creating it.
Mhm.
What is your message for people of faith?
That Jesus, Jesus was about love and mercy and compassion, not about law and order. And even if you can make that an argument for law and order, ICE is not about maintaining law and order. They are not law enforcement. They are a. We have said for many years that once an authoritarian comes to power in the United States, that ICE will become the secret police. And that is what we are seeing right now.
Yeah.
We are seeing a lawless organization. We are seeing
Oh, guardrails.
extrajudicial killings in our streets
Yes, we are.
by ICE, right? We've always seen it by the police. But now, now it's by ICE as well.
Why did
And
you say that about ICE before? Like, why did you, like, this was a year, you're talking about years ago. You're talking about like 2000, 2001. You're talking about when ICE was formed. Why
Mhm.
back then did you realize that ICE, if there was an authoritarian who came to power, that they would use ICE?
I don't know if it was exactly when it was formed. Although when it was formed, we could see. I mean, that was when they were creating the Muslim registration, right? People were already being rounded up at the very beginning of ICE and thrown into secret jails. So we could see that from the very beginning what it was doing. They were always operating without warrants. They were always lying to people. The idea of ICE detention, right? It's supposed to be administrative detention. It's also indefinite detention. There is no end to it. So, and that's torture. So yeah, I don't think it was really that hard to. You didn't need that clear of a crystal ball to look ahead and see where we were gonna end up, which is where we are now, and we're still on that slope, right? We have further to descend into.
Yeah, and that's a lot to fathom. That's a lot to fathom. Oh, so let's bring you up to speed. Before we talk about the big walk on Good Friday,
Mm-hmm.
you shared a very troubling video on social media today.
Yeah.
So tell us about that, because that heightens the sense of urgency.
Yeah.
And that people need to really appreciate it. I don't know, Jonathan. I don't know if we can share that, but I definitely posted it on my page, and we encourage folks to share it out. Go ahead, tell us about it.
Yeah, so we were at Delany Hall last night, as we always are on Thursday nights, because it's visiting hours. And toward the end of visiting hours, a woman came with, I think it was a friend of hers and her son, and she was trying to get in to visit. And when we started to talk to her, we found out that her husband had been taken that morning, and she started to tell us about what happened. And then she showed us this video. So she was in the car. She was in her husband's attorney's car, leaving court. Wow. The charges against her husband had been dismissed. Now, she's a U.S. citizen, and she's been working to adjust her husband's status for 9 years. They are one step. They have one step remaining for him to get his legal permanent residency. The charges against him that morning were dismissed, and yet ICE was there to not just to take him into custody, but they were willing to break the windows of her husband's attorney's car and to yank him out in front of his wife and take him away. Now, they're from Vineland, which is like, if people aren't familiar with New Jersey geography, that's
way down there going toward Philly. Yes.
Yep. And so they drove
let
3 hours.
I have the video. Do you want to? We can
walk us through it.
Sure. Yeah. So this is the family. They came to, like I said, they came to Delany Hall last night. And they were looking for the husband, and she showed us this video, and if you want to play it, I can.
He's trying to figure that out.
I'm going to play the video, but I hooked it up to the page, so it's playing you and me at the same time. So I'm just going to stop talking and just play the video.
Okay. So this is her filming from inside the car, looking outside the window.
We're still on, folks. All politics are local.
Yeah.
We got a little tech glitch. We're trying to actually show you something in addition to telling you something. As soon as we get that, it'll blow your mind. Ice at Delany Hall is ice cold. Lead producer is trying to.
Yeah, I'm just messing up on my own.
Flick the one switch.
Yeah, I just.
And I threw that in on Facebook at the last minute. I probably should have figured out how to save it another way, but it was just in the moment. So I'll take responsibility for that. There goes something clicked. Wait a minute.
Yeah, so he's breaking the window. That's his wife screaming.
I want to see the warrant.
Yeah, so she's calling for the warrant. And they're pulling him out of the car.
And the devil!
Y'all don't even love in Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
No! I got nothing there.
So you can see
get me out of here.
They're not wearing masks.
Do not touch. I didn't touch you. I didn't touch you.
Yeah.
I didn't touch you. Ice mi gente. Mi gente. You bitch. You, I hope you die.
So, talk to us.
Yeah, so you can see.
So this happened in Newark yesterday?
No, it happened in Vineland. It happened in Vineland yesterday morning.
But they brought him to Delany Hall.
They brought him to Delany Hall, yes.
Okay, all right.
So, and he's, they tried to go visit him last night, but he's still in processing, so they weren't able to visit him. We're hoping that they'll be able to visit on Saturday. So you can see, there was a big deal people were making about the fact that they were wearing masks, which is a terror tactic, right? So yes, we don't want them to wear masks, but if they're just going to take the masks off and still, brutalize our neighbors, that's no difference, right? And also they're so emboldened at this point that they don't care that they have their masks off. They're still willing to break windows, to yank people out. of their cars, and they don't care. They're not presenting warrants. So what happened in New Jersey, which is great, we've passed these laws that say ICE must present a warrant, that they cannot wear masks, but here they are. They're doing the same thing they always did, just without masks. They're not presenting a warrant. They're still yanking people out. They're taking people who have a legal pathway. So it's a complete waste of taxpayer resources and dollars, and it just doesn't make any sense. But the question is now, what is Governor Sherrill going to do? And we're supposedly holding up money for ICE because we want them to stop wearing masks. Now they've been roaming around the airports for days now, not wearing masks. So they seem to already be complying with that. So what are we going to do? And what does them not wearing masks get us anyhow? What we need is for them to stop giving these thugs money. They're stealing from our schools. They're stealing from affordable housing. They're stealing from our hospitals. They're stealing from our roads. They're stealing from everything that we need to support life in order to brutalize our neighbors, whether they're brutalize our neighbors here at home and to bomb people overseas. So we need to get our priorities straight and start looking at how do we take care of each other.
Hi, Kathy. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm just joining, but I heard the little last piece, and I want to, Jonathan, you got your corned beef? What you showing on, Jonathan? I wanted to share or expound on what you just said. I thought one of the sticking points that was still that they were not, when they act in the capacity of ICE, when they're doing that and not in the airports, that they still did not sign off on not wearing masks. But you're right, they still, when they come into the airport, they have taken their mask off. So I don't even know why that's still an issue if they can do it when they're in the airport, where all eyes are really on them because there's cameras everywhere in the airport. But when you are acting in the capacity of, or doing, borders or picking or restraining people or picking persons up that are non-documented, why do you have to wear masks when in the other cases you can't? So,
well, my point is they're asking for the wrong thing.
I know, I agree with you. I just wanted to make, because I know when I was listening to the going back and forth, that was one of the things that they still were not giving up.
Yeah. And the other thing too is New Jersey just passed, the Governor Sherrill just signed new legislation saying that agents are not allowed to wear masks and they must present warrants. Right. So now we have, she just signed that like the day, the ink wasn't dry yet. And we have this video here of them doing exactly the opposite.
And will that, in some cases how federal law trumps state law. So when they're in New Jersey, will they have to comply with that if federal law is not the same? I'm
not an attorney.
No, I'm just asking if you knew.
Yeah, I don't know for sure, and I have the same question, honestly.
Okay.
Because because it's it's the supremacy clause of the Constitution that federal law is supreme, and that federal agents, when they're engaging in enforcement of federal law, that we don't that the local agencies don't have authority over them.
Right.
But I think that is part of the that is part of why she wants the case, right? The reason to pass the law is to prosecute them under that and see where it goes.
Yeah.
They can't impede law enforcement, right? They can't impede ICE from doing its actual job. But it is illegal to, under the Fourth Amendment protections, to attack people without probable cause. You don't have a warrant. And if your probable cause is simply they're Latino, which the Supreme Court
Black.
partially ruled on. They said that if you look Latino and you're speaking Spanish, then they can detain you and ask you some questions. But in the case here, when you're driving in a car, to stop you, to bash down your window, and not have a warrant, well, then what was the thing that got you the ability to do that? I think those things have to be tested over and over again. So I think that the reason to pass the law is so the law can be tested.
Ammunition.
So, right. And yes, you can't stop the federal government from enforcing the law, but the argument has been that this is lawless. So if it is not in adherence to the Constitution of the United States, and they're asking to do something to states that it should not be allowed by the Constitution of the United States, then states can push back on that. So it literally is a way to test the limits of what the federal government can do. And this is the case to do it. Like this is the atmosphere in which it needs to be done, because the justification of what they did in Los Angeles and what the Supreme Court has allowed on a temporary basis is racial profiling as a literal way to stop, as a legitimate excuse to stop someone. So if you look Latino, you can be stopped, according to the Supreme Court, in the case that they've already allowed, but they have not fully decided on. So they've allowed racial profiling on race. They've allowed racial profiling if you speak Spanish. They've allowed profiling if you happen to be Latino speaking Spanish and at a Home Depot. So they've allowed these things to go on, and I think that, but the case has not been decided yet. They've allowed those things to go on in the meantime. So I think that what the governor is thinking, and what she should be doing, is and what all of New Jersey should be doing in our legislatures, is the reason to pass the law is to try to enforce it and see what the limits are. Can you literally just look at someone, bash down the door, and fish for evidence against someone? It would seem like that's a violation of the Fourth Amendment. I am not a lawyer, but like the constitutional amendments were made to be easy so that common people were like, if they don't have a warrant, they can't search you. They can't search you for just any reason whatsoever. I think that certain clarifications used to be clear. Like if they say we're searching you because you're black, like before that Supreme Court ruling, that was most people think, oh, that's illegal. They can't search someone because you're black. And you would think that searching someone because they look Latino, and the Kavanaugh rule, Kavanaugh was like,
Kavanaugh stops. Yep.
Right. And when Kavanaugh was like, 1 in 10 people in Los Angeles area are probably illegal. So, just throw up. Like it was almost like he could have used a racial slur as opposed to Latino. You're like, throw a baseball, you'll hit one of them. Just no harm, no foul. Right? Like it was so bad in terms of the justification. It was so overtly racist. It was so horrible. And this is what the Justice Department under Trump fought for. So elections have consequences. Knowing that first-generation immigrants voted for this man in such high numbers should give pause to everyone. And if there's ever a reason to be like, we actually need a multiracial coalition, and these things aren't important just to Black people, because they're not coming after, well, they are, but they're not coming after Black Americans first. We're caught in the crossfire of it. But the people who they are really coming at, really targeting, really profiling are a lot of the same communities that supported him in numbers that are clearly far too high. So yeah, to go back to your original question, we don't know whether or not what the implications of this law means, but we know that it has to be tested, and I think that's the reason to pass the laws, so that the Attorney General can take cases like the case that you showed on film and prosecute for that. Say, hey, you bashed in the window. Did you have a warrant? We passed a law that says you have to have a warrant. And if you didn't have a warrant, did you have probable cause? And probable cause can't be walking out of a court.
Yep. Yeah. No. So now it's in the court of the, it's in Mikey Sherrill's court now, right? Literally and figuratively for her AG's office to do something about it. So we will wait and see what happens here. But this is this is the the first test, I think, of that law. And it's, very clear on the videotape with not just the wife as a witness, but also the attorney as a witness right outside the courthouse. So I think this is a pretty good case to test out whether or not that law stands up.
At least get this guy released. Now, let me just say one thing, and then we're going to bring you back to the Good Friday walk in the minute that we have left. And that's about this masking thing. And this masking does have.
And remember, Zaid, we also have our next guest that's in the background.
That's what I said in this last minute, right? But this masking thing has had an impact on policing locally. Mm-hmm. We need to be very clear about that. And what's maddening about it is it not only cost a civilian his life, and I'm talking about Wally Bay, but also cost a police officer his life. A young man got killed by a 14-year-old kid who saw masked men jumping at him. Mm. He got his shot off and took one down and ruined his life. But why are Newark police officers wearing masks? Mm. Right? So, Trump doesn't just have a particular force with ICE. He has an arena of authority with law enforcement by giving them a green light, using ICE as a gateway to that green light. Mm. We need to be really clear about what police culture is and at its worst. And this is helps drive that whole thing the wrong way. Mm-hmm. Now, having said that, Kathy, let me this last minute we got left, tell us about the Good Friday walk. I'll be trying to join that.
That's great.
I just did a 112-mile walk for Mumia Abu Jamal a few weeks ago. Right?
Yeah,
so, I'm ready to get back in shape. Tell us about it.
Yeah, no, we have a long history of doing what we call pilgrimages. We used to walk from Liberty State Park on Ash Wednesday, from Liberty State Park to the Elizabeth Detention Center, which was 12 miles. This one is 10 miles, and it's on Ash Wednesday. On Good Friday. And it's starting at the First Congregational Church in Montclair at 8 a.m. And then going to Christ Episcopal in Glenridge. If people would just like to walk, I think that's a mile. If people just want to walk that one leg. Otherwise, they can meet folks at 1:30 at St. Stephan's in the Ironbound, or they can meet us at 3 p.m. At Delany Hall for our final service. So if you want to walk the whole way, you can check out Chrsti NJ on Instagram and on Facebook. You can find the flyer and you can find how to sign up. But if you just want to walk one of those legs, feel free, or drive along. We're going to be reflecting on the crucifixion of Jesus and inviting people to consider the suffering of Jesus and to try to see that in the face of people who are suffering today, particularly the people who are being targeted by ICE, being detained and deported.
Where's the starting point? Remind us of the starting point. Yes. I'm trying to get hold of the registration link, right? And I'll put that out in a minute.
Yeah, the starting point is at the First Congregational Church in Montclair, which is 40 South Fullerton, at 8 a.m. So,
awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. Now, the other person who jumped in this conversation, she didn't introduce herself. That's former Councilwoman Donna K. Williams, who's now one of our producers and co-hosts. Donna, you want to ask our guests our ritual question as we go out?
Miss Leary, is this your first time here?
It is.
Okay, well, welcome, and don't be a stranger. This is a hip-hop political show. Uh-huh. And we asked all our guests, when you're doing the work that you're doing, preparing daily, or whenever you're doing that work, is there a hip-hop artist, individual, or group that you listen to? And if so, can you tell us?
Is there a hip
Are you laughing? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, when I was in college, I used to listen to NWA.
Oh, okay. And who are you listening? Okay.
Who am I listening to now? Rebel Diaz.
Know him well. Watch him grow up. Know him well. Straight out of the Bronx. Good, bro. Good, bro. He's done stuff with us in Newark too. Good.
Okay, Mr. Leary, will you be at Yankee Stadium this summer with Jay-Z?
Probably not.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you, and please don't be a stranger. And if you have some information that you know that we need to be made aware of, please contact Zaid and come back on.
Yeah, I would love to. This has been a great experience. I thank you for having me.
I'm glad we made
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me try and find this link as Racquel comes on in.
All right. Well, Racquel is here. Racquel, are you there? Are you with us?
I am. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good
Welcome
evening.
to All Politics are Local. I believe you
Welcome
have
back.
been on here
Welcome
multiple
back.
times before.
Welcome back. Yes.
Yes, I've had the pleasure. It's good to be on again.
And it's always great having you on. And Zai, do you want to do the introductions?
Racquel comes to us from the mighty Salvation and Social Justice, and is one of our most important voices and forces in these policy negotiations that go down in this strange place that we call the state capital, Trenton, New Jersey, the land of our soprano state legislatures. Somebody got to do it. I don't know if I could do that. I'm the rock thrower, and I'm comfortable with that. Right? But when you got to get somebody in the room, you need somebody like Racquel or Miles Henry, who I'm very proud of how she does what she does, and the fact that she's doing that for us and on our side. Racquel was just at Trenton recently. I stumbled upon her doing some testimony about juvenile justice, right? And they gave, we testify in Trenton. You got a hard 3 minutes. And they pushing you on to pushing you out for the next one, But she was actually given some time to really develop this conversation before an important committee in the assembly. And I just wanted to flag it and let her share that, because there are a lot of issues, of course, around juvenile justice. You just heard me make that point about that case that we have in Newark with the 14-year-old and the police officer shooting. Right? And this whole aura now coming from that side to wave juveniles up, and we're supposed to have gotten past that in New Jersey. And also, we also on the community-based violence intervention front, we're going to have a big one-day symposium featuring the Patterson Healing Collective, one of our sister organizations, around them summing up 5 years of work and the state of our fight to get the Seabrooks Washington bill implemented. Racquel has been very intimate in all of that, and Salvation and Social Justice is amongst the ranks of those of us who do community-based violence intervention. So we got, in the few minutes we got, it's loaded. It's fully loaded.
I'm ready.
Stuff in, right?
Ready.
So hey, daughter, good to see you, right?
Always a pleasure.
Tell us about what was happening in Trenton in that committee and in that juvenile justice conversation.
Zay, before we start, Racquel, you're a member Salvation and Social Justice. Did y'all just have a loss? Did y'all just lose?
So
somebody?
Thank you for bringing that up. So we recently lost a giant among us, Brother Keith Hamilton. Now, he technically did not work for Salvation and Social Justice. He was really the pillar that held up our sister organization, Greater Mount Zion CDC, and just a tremendous man. I had the pleasure to work very closely, with GMZ, to kind of sit at his feet, learn the lessons. So many of us at SNSJ, we benefited from his daily presence, and we're feeling it. We're feeling it alongside his family and the brothers and sisters at GMZ. So I appreciate you highlighting it. We're going to be sending him home tomorrow, and we just ask that you keep him and his family in your prayers.
Okay, we just wanted to start by saying that we're praying for you as well.
Yeah, I was not aware of that. Thank you for that. And I just found his services will be tomorrow at Great Aunt Mount Zion AME Church right in Trenton. And the service will begin at 12. And supreme condolences. I was not aware of that. Donna, thank you for flagging that. That's context. We appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you. But Baba, your question was regarding the
testimony, the context of your testimony, what's happening. Justice in Trenton.
I guess it's worth mentioning too that this is coming on the heels of several years of what we can only be described as like an overreaction by the legislature around isolated incidents happening across the state. And it seems like every year we're fighting this fight where there are these bills that are trying to lock up young people at exorbitant rates. At one point it was around the carjackings. Then it was the fentanyl, and now here we are last year trying to stop bills that would essentially wave young people up into adult prisons. It's just quite literally one battle after another. So I was so pleased when Assemblywoman Ellen Park, who you all may remember was the champion on the Assembly side of the use of force bill, who really got it down the field. Assemblywoman Ellen Park reached out, who she heads up the Judiciary Committee, reached out and said, this is an issue that's really important to me. I really want to, get a sense of what's happening in the youth justice space, and invited SNSJ among several of our comrades in this fight. Integrative Justice Alliance. We have Legal Minds from Rutgers, Office of the Public Defender, ACLU, New Jersey Institute for Social Justice. We had impacted folks there, offering testimony, really laying out what our young people are facing when they come against this criminal legal system, but also more importantly, offering recommendations on how we can do better by our young people. And I think it was, I think it was about a couple hours, and it was time well spent.
Awesome. Now, what is particularly on the table in terms of pending legislation on that front that we need to be concerned about?
Well, right now it's making sure that none of these problematic bills that are trying to wave young people up, that they're not reintroduced, right? And then making sure also that we are offering a solution, an alternative. So we have a collaborative effort among advocates who are trying to advance an alternative youth waiver legislation that basically takes so much of the power out of the hands of the prosecutor, and really allows for more mitigating considerations for our young people. So we're working on trying to get that introduced and get that down the field. We've had some really encouraging conversations, but prayerfully, if we can get it introduced, we'll be able to come back to you all with a bill number and something that the people can rally around.
Is there anything that we need to be trying to rally against right now?
I think just keeping your eyes on some of the problematic bills that were last session. I'm not prepared today with the new bill numbers, but I can get those to you, Baba.
You know that, yeah.
Yeah, maybe we can offer that to the people for the next show. But I think making sure that we're keeping our eyes on that and that they're not moving. We were successful in stopping a lot of those bad bills last session. And I think if they rear their ugly heads again, we should be prepared to do the same this time around.
And Racquel, are you familiar? The arts, I believe, they play a big part in letting the bigger community know what's possible and what can happen. And I set that up by saying, are you familiar with there's an old show out called Judging Amy? Are you familiar with that?
No, I'm not familiar with that one.
Yeah, if you can, write it down. Go on YouTube. All of it's on YouTube. But the beauty of it is based in Connecticut, and it's all around the juvenile justice system. And it's interesting because they do it, you know, one from the social, like from a social perspective of how her mother's a social worker, and it's based on a true story too. It had like 6 seasons, but it tells a story from how, you know, these cases come in from, you know, from a social standpoint, but then it shows how it from the juvenile justice, and they do a lot of court scenes, you know, because she's a juvenile judge, and they go into explaining the importance of the juvenile justice system and how the kids, how children's brains are not like an adult's brain. Yeah, it's very, very interesting. And I came upon it because my mother was a social worker, but it's really, really interesting. And I would almost say from the standpoint, when we want to educate our community, because like you said, certain things bring this subject back up. You know, case in point, where we had the situation with the young man, and as I said earlier, where he was confronted by mass officers and he ended up shooting an officer. But how, you know, the different stories that they tell so people can begin to understand, you know, what you're dealing with on a day-to-day, and we're not so reactive to it, and we put a little bit more understanding and credence to the issues that you see every day that only people may see once in a while, and they become reactive as opposed to educated about the issue.
Absolutely. I'm gonna check the show out, but I think you laid it out beautifully. I think also too, when we're talking about matters of youth justice in the state, what we need to realize is everything we're seeing in terms of these are what we're seeing is the state doing mass disinvestment in our young people, right? And then they're responding to ultimately the problems that policies are creating, right? So when you're not investing in education,
backwards.
You're going backwards,
right?
You know? And I think it's important for our communities to understand that that's what's happening. I think oftentimes there's a gap between how elders view young people and how young people view elders, instead of a covering of our young people. And you know, right now we're in the budget session. This week they just wrapped up public hearings. I think Monday is the next public hearing or the last public hearing. So I don't know if there's going to be time for any of your viewers to provide testimony, but certainly there's time to contact your elected and let them know where you want to see investments, right? So we know that in New Jersey, there's a racial wealth gap of $600,000 between the average median wealth of a Black family versus that of a white family. So we're talking the average Black family household or their wealth is $20,000, while the white family is $600,000, right? That's policy. That's policy. That's not any shortcoming of any one individual. And who you think are the collateral damage of those policies? It's young people. You see, childhood poverty in New Jersey is much higher for Black children than it is for white children, right? We know that the disinvestments in our schools, Black children feel it the most. And then you're talking about with the incarceration rates of young people, of Black folks, you know, they're incarcerated at almost 40 times the rate of white kids. Even though we know that incarcerations are going down in the state, we know arrests are going down in the state, somehow Black folks are still disproportionately represented in the jails, whether they're young people or adults. So these are all policies. So when we're talking about the things that need to happen for young people, it's all going to come down to policy and investments. So, you know, you were talking about the arts. Are we investing in the arts programs? Are we investing in summer youth employment programs, right? We know that when you talk to a lot of people who've been involved or impacted by the system, they'll tell you a lot of what drove their decision-making was economics or the lack thereof, right? So how are we creating opportunities and programs for young people so that they can live dignified lives? They can have dignified employment. You know, they can help their family, connect them to services, right? If I'm stealing a car, am I stealing a car because I just want to steal a car? Or is it because I'm trying to, you know, stay safe in my community against, you know, certain factions, certain, you know, gang factions? How do I create an alternative? How does the state create an alternative for those young people? You know, when we're talking about freedom schools and education, we know that freedom schools not only impact the academics of young people, but in their emotional and mental development, right? So the state, we need to see the state increase more dollars into those preventative measures. Oftentimes when you're hearing about youth committing crimes, everybody's talking about accountability, but accountability is not retribution. Accountability is responsibility and it's repair. And if you're not really trying to offer young people an opportunity to take responsibility, but also repair, then really all you're talking about is punishment, and you're not preventing future victims, right? Or future collateral damage to the crimes. So, we need to really reprogram and restructure the way that we talk about youth justice system in the state, because as of late, we've got it wrong. You can't incarcerate your way out of it.
I know. And I remember several years ago where there was a young Caucasian young man who did a crime, and the judge said affluent. He was the affluent. What he said from the bench that he probably made affluenza, right? And I just wonder, how many times have you heard that happen for a young, and I'm sure African-American judge, but just typically, have you heard that for a young African-American who's coming in front of the system for the first time, had that problem, so you got a lot of work. I'm sorry, go ahead, Racquel.
But sister, you don't have to wonder. None of us have to wonder, because the numbers tell you. The numbers tell you. Because Black kids are incarcerated at much higher rates than white kids, and they're waived up to in adult courts much higher than white kids. So you're posing the right question, but we already got the answer.
That's right. Okay.
Jersey was famous for that for a good minute.
Yeah.
For a good minute, and we're at the crossroads of going backwards on that front right now, which is why this conversation is so important. Is why this agitation is so important. In the few minutes we have left, we've got a shared date on Tuesday. One of our sister organizations is having a big symposium on summing up 5 years of community-based violence intervention work. Now, before we talk about them,
all right, go ahead.
Remind everybody that Salvation Social Justice has developed the Trenton Restorative Street Team. And before somebody became governor, candidate Mikey Sherrill actually visited y'all when y'all was in the streets.
Talk.
Now, based on your engagement since she's become governor, do we have a sense that this new governor is understanding the memo that we sent her? And if she's not, doesn't that heighten the significance of what we're going to do together on Tuesday, and doing conversations like that on Tuesday all the more important?
Yeah, I think as of late, she has been, up until this point, she's been incredibly responsive. I would even say proactive in reaching out around these issues and making sure that there's communication. But my position is always that that's only going to continue so long as we do what we're supposed to do on this end, right? So that means that we have to keep beating the pavement. That means we have to keep on the line. We have to hold electeds accountable, right? And we've done that. We did that. We showed up during the elections, and I think that has really helped motivate a lot of the office's response, and that's good. That's promising. So we want to see more of that, and so we encourage everybody to make sure they're doing that as well. In the point that you made about the symposium, I want people to really pay attention to what's happening in terms of the investments around community-led crisis response and community-based violence interruption teams. Oftentimes, what we're hearing is when we're hearing the state respond to the drop in violence in the city, in the state, in various cities.
Police. Right? Come on.
Police. I can't reject that premise enough, and it's incumbent on all of us to reject that every time you hear it. When you hear about these programs, I'm not saying that some of these programs have not yielded some results. I'm not saying that Arrive hasn't worked out for families in various communities. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that we need to be very clear about what programs like Arrive offer, what programs like 988 offer, and what programs like our community-based violence interruption and community-led crisis response teams offer. It's something very different. We're talking about people showing up to your moment in need, not just on your worst day, but people who are baked into the community. They have a unique invested interest in your wellness beyond this one incident, right? That is not something you can train people to do who are not from the community, right? The fact that these people are trained professionals, but the fact that they have been directly impacted by the system, that they have been through the issues that they're responding to, that is the secret sauce, right? So I want to make sure that when we're hearing about the statistics, when we're hearing about a 40% drop in violent crime in the state, that we are giving the credit where it's due, and it's to these community-based violence interruption teams, and soon, you know, many of these crisis response teams who are not merely responding to mental health calls or opioid response calls, although that is a big part of the work that we're doing. But what we are responding to are behavioral health, non-violent calls, right? Calls that we know, we're talking about quality of life calls, right? That is so important because too often, many of us only feel like the only option we have is to call 911. And then what ends up happening is someone ends up losing their life for something when what they needed was compassion, when what they needed was to be shown a little humanity. So these teams are incredibly important because they're not merely showing up on people's worst day. They're seeing them at school drop off. They're seeing them at the grocery pickup line. They're seeing them all throughout the community. And that is not something that we see with Arrive. And that is not something that we see with 988. And we need to be very clear about what we're calling for the state to invest in and what these investments are actually yielding and producing. And our community-based violence interruption teams are doing the work, and they deserve all of the praise and all of the flowers.
And now to 2 points very quickly. One is in terms of Newark's contribution to that front. Since we have done that work here, we have gone from being one of the most deadly cities in this country, one of the most deadly, making it plain, to reducing gun violence and our homicide rate to a 60-year low.
There it is.
And we did it without the popo.
And we did it with, and here's the thing. This is not one or the other. When these crisis response teams, when these community-based violence interruption teams are able to do their work, they are able to free up space for law enforcement to really deal with crime.
Yeah, that's right.
So let's just call it what it is, right? We're not poo-pooing on the things that law enforcement has. There's real crime out there that needs to be addressed. But we also know that the majority of 911 calls are not for criminal matters. Police are showing up to every scene with a hammer, so now everything looks like a nail. All right. And if you talk to a lot of law enforcement, they're going to tell you they oftentimes don't want to respond to some of these calls. They don't feel equipped to respond to these calls. So when these teams are properly funded, supported, not only do they keep communities safe, but they allow it works out for law enforcement as well. So law enforcement can do what they're supposed to do, which is really investigate and respond to real crime. You know, not these quality of life issues, not mental health calls. You know, it's just it only ends tragically in our communities, and we need to be calling for increased and sustained investments in these programs because they really are making all the difference.
Now let's back up and give folks some background, just what we're talking about. Very quickly, the Seabrooks-Washington bill, who Najee Seabrooks was, who Drew Washington was, what the bill is supposed to do, and how and where it got stalled. You got the governor to sign it back in 2024.
January 2024.
And have a dime release yet, so we can really save some lives.
So yeah, I'll give it to you quick and dirty. So Najee Seabrooks was a crisis response worker in the city of Patterson, a violence interrupter in the city of Patterson, our sister organization, Patterson Healing Collective. He was also a victim of violence in the city, dedicated his life to trying to be the change he wanted to see in the city, and tragically lost his life by Patterson police while he was in the throes of his own mental health crisis. What makes the story even more tragic is that he had his comrades from Patterson Healing Collective
on the scene,
prepared to assist, and they were denied access and the ability to assist him. And tragically, he lost his life. during this time, we were working with the state to get this bill passed, and we're coming against one stall after another. And then not even 5 months later, Andrew Washington I'm sorry, my computer's about to die. Not even 5 months later, Andrew Washington in the city of Jersey City, under erringly similar circumstances, was killed by Jersey City police. And we finally got the legislation passed in December 2023. At the 11th hour. This is after more than 5 years of advocacy for this bill, doing the groundwork. We finally got the bill passed in December. And we named it after Najee and Andrew to honor the lives, not just their lives that were lost, but to make sure that we're centering the families who prayerfully don't come in the future. So that bill was signed into law in January 2024. And since 2024, these programs, and just to be clear, the bill is supposed to allocate $12 million for a pilot program across 6 municipalities, only 5
$2 million each. That's right.
$2 million each across these 6 municipalities to establish these crisis response teams or support the implementation of already established programs, right? And to date, many of these programs have not received funds, right? So, and what we're seeing is that even with the advisory council, that's part of it. The advisory council was established in the legislation to make sure that they are doing the they're supporting the best practices to make sure that these programs are actually successful in the implementation. And even the advisory council was started almost close to a year after the bill was signed into law. So we've seen significant stalls, significant delays, all of which has really tied the hands of people who are prepared and ready and equipped to do the work, if not for the lack of funds. So it's very important that the community understand that, because many people in the community got behind us. When we called, they answered. They showed up to the State House. They showed up to the rallies.
They did.
They call their lawmakers. And if it's and if you're seeing that these programs are not being implemented where you are, it's not for a lack of trying on the part of these organizations. These organizations are grassroots organizations. Many of them have had to cut critical services because of the absence of the funds, where they're dealing with all sorts of significant bureaucratic barriers, budgets being denied, contracts not being signed. There is a whole amount of stuff going on behind the scenes that general public is not aware of. So what we're calling for people to do is to contact their lawmakers and let them know that they want to see the proper implementation of these programs. But also we want to see this go beyond a pilot. We want to see this become a sustained program in the state budget and supported beyond the
process of community-based violence intervention and crisis response being treated as first responder significant.
Absolutely. And I'll also offer this right now. I mentioned the budget season. What you're going to hear a lot of is that there's an absence of funds, right? We need to tighten our belt with the budget. What we've also been calling on is using opioid settlement funds and cannabis revenue to support these programs. The money is there. Okay. And there's no better use for the money, because when you're talking about these programs, you're talking about many of the descendants of the war on drugs, communities that have been directly impacted by state policies, locking up our young people when they should have been shown compassion for what we now call the opioid crisis. When it was the crack epidemic, they were locking us up, they were splitting up families. Now we know that these programs are oftentimes responding to or supporting communities that have been devastated by generations of a racist war on drugs. So we're saying everything from opioid response to cannabis revenue. It cannot just be going to making rich white people richer. It has to be going back to repairing the communities that have been
communities that were harmed by those
policies, those
prohibitions. And Racquel, is any of that money, is all of that state money, or is some of that money coming from federal government as well?
So the cannabis revenue money, that is state money. That's coming from New Jersey through decriminalization. One of the things that we basically advocated for was to make sure that there were investments from cannabis revenue that are going back to directly impacted communities. So there has been a significant amount of money that's been generated through cannabis revenue, and we're calling on the state to utilize those funds to support community-based violence interruption programs and community-led crisis response teams. Now, they did that last year, so we're saying do more of that this year, right? So when you're talking about budget cuts, these programs should not be impacted by that, because we know the funds are there through the cannabis revenue, and that is the appropriate use of the funds. As it pertains to opioid settlement funds, the money came down, and there is money that goes from the state, that comes from the state, and then there are municipal funds. So what we're saying is that people need to be contacting their counties, their municipalities around how to access those very specific funds. And then the state also has funds for opioid settlement as well. So you can appeal to both for the support.
There you go.
Okay, thank you.
I put in on our Facebook page, and it's also going on our YouTube page. And we want everybody to please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube page. All the details and the registration link for the Patterson Healing Collective's 5-year summing up of their work on this powerful one-day symposium. We're talking about all of this stuff, right? A lot of people in our community still don't understand what it is that we do, right? So we're really that's one opportunity to lift up in a shared way what one particular program is doing in a city that is a tough climate, very tough climate, but nevertheless, in spite of the climate that they were in terms of their political environment and the loss of one of their own in the middle of those 5 years, they've been pressing on people's lives and saving people's lives and gives real direction, right? And that's what we need to be about. Donna, why don't you ask Racquel our ritual question as we take this segment out?
Okay, Racquel, you've been here before, so you know this question. This is a hip-hop political show. When you're doing the work and preparing to do the work, is there a hip-hop artist, individual, or group that you listen to keep you inspired?
The two I'm listening to right now is Mos Def, and then the next one is actually reggae. It's Buju Banton. So
okay, Buju Banton. Yes.
Those are the two I'm listening to that's on the playlist.
Okay. All right.
But real quick, before I go, because I ain't got no manners, I need to get this out real quick.
Yes.
Come on. Go ahead. April 11th, Salvation Social Justice, in partnership with several of our partners, the Institute, New Jersey Black Issues Convention, New Jersey BEC, we are hosting a forum, a candidates forum for the Congressional District 12 elections. This is April 11th. From 10 to 12.
And say that's Bonnie Watson Coleman's district.
Yes. So we're talking Mercer County, we're talking Essex County, we're talking Somerset, we're talking Union County. Come out. We're having a candidates forum where all of the questions as it pertains to Black folks, our community, will be asked. It's going to be held at First Baptist Church of Lincoln Gardens in Somerset, New Jersey, the historic First Baptist Church of Lincoln Gardens, from 10 to 12.
Cyrus's old church.
Yes. So please come out and engage with the candidates and the people in the community who are asking the hard-hitting questions.
Okay.
Right on to that. And
Racquel, two things. Don't forget Judge and Amy. And also look at 5 Calls app, because you can put, I just went on there to look, and it will help with it's an app that kind of sends out to callers for you to call your legislators and tell them to advocate for this, and see how you can get some of that legislation on the 5 Calls app. Okay.
Thank you. And then I'll give you the notes on those bills for next week's call.
Yes. And I don't know when Donna gets a chance to watch all this TV, because we know how busy she is.
Yeah, well, Judge Namie's on YouTube, so I can let it watch me. But that's my show. It's really good for it helps you think of policy and things like that. So, and Justice Juvenile, especially when I work for the court, is very important. So,
Well, I thank you,
and,
sister.
and thank you for the work that you're doing. And I know it's an uphill battle, but let us know. We're always here to help you with any clarion call that you need.
God bless y'all. I appreciate you. You guys be safe.
You too.
All right.
Yeah.
Peace.
Thank you, daughter. All right. Well, y'all know I got to give a shameless plug because that's one of my Cubs from the new Black Panther Party.
So we're getting ready to talk about this vote. This UN vote.
Wait a minute. I'm trying to say something.
Yeah.
That's one of my Cubs from the new Black Panther Party. I had a whole squad of troops from William Patterson University. She's the one that came out and is really doing some hella fine work. I'm very proud of Racquel with Mount Sunray. I just had to give her that plug. Go ahead and say what you were saying, Donna, and I'll introduce the next Black man.
No. I was just saying, I know we're getting ready to talk about this UN vote. And so we're going to wait for the turn. Oh, she's here. All right. Hey.
We have our guest.
Yes.
Okay. Greetings.
Always amazing having you on. And Zaid, you need to give the proper introduction for our guest, who is a legend in when it comes to fights for civil rights, the conversation on reparations. I was actually teaching an article that you wrote back in 2016 on why you had reservations about Hillary Clinton or why you had reservations about the crime bill. And back in not in 2016, I'm talking about like much further back than that. We're talking about the 90s.
That was in 1994 or something like that.
When Clinton was in office. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we were teaching. We were teaching that in the same unit. We were teaching what you were saying in the 90s, and then what the writer of the New Jim Crow wrote in 2016. And when she was talking about the exact same issue.
Well, we were talking about how, it back then, but she was famous. So
right.
New, what she brought up was not new. We were talking about it way back in the day. Yeah.
In the 90s, right? And part of the thing that I tell my students, and part of the reason why we use that article that was written back in the 90s, is that there were people who were there when the bill was passed who were warning about it, and there wasn't sufficient debate on it. So in my debate class, I teach that part of the consequences for not having a thorough debate on policy is that we get bad policy that hurts the community for years.
You mean Democrats didn't have a complete debate on a horrible policy like that?
Well, you said he was going to do a proper introduction because I'm ready to ask so many questions, but we want to let everybody know who we're talking to.
Absolutely.
Now, to introduce Nkechi and to build on your observation and your shared memory, Jonathan, that bill was signed intentionally on the birth anniversary of Mumia Abu Jamal, right? One of our longest held political prisoners in this country right now, right? And this particular Black woman has been one of our prime go-to lawyers in the fight for our freedom fighters over a period of decades. And what we're getting ready to talk about is some fresh ammunition in the international arena in our long-standing, centuries-old quest for this thing called reparations. Nkechi Taifa, free the land, my queen. Welcome back.
By any means, thank you.
Necessary. Now, we shared an incredible moment a few days ago. I want you to just walk backwards, tell everybody about just what happened, why it's so important, and what that compels us to do next. And then we need to talk about the larger issue and how to build for it. Come on.
So thank you so very much, my brother, and thank you for always being on point with all politics are local, right? So we're talking about global and we're talking about local, okay? What happened? Well, first of all, I want to speak historically. The date of March the 25th It's a date that's globally recognized as the International Day of Remembrance for the Transatlantic Trafficking in Enslaved Africans. And so that date that was chosen for this debate, this historic debate and vote on the Ghanaian president, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama's declaration on the floor of the United Nations General Assembly that the transatlantic trafficking in human beings and racially chattel enslavement was the gravest crime against humanity. For that to happen on that date was intentional, and it was in fact historic as well. And this is also 25 years since the 2001 Durban Declaration and Program of
Did
Action.
you go to Durban?
I was not in Durban. I was a new mother at the time, and I was doing the mommy thing.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But everybody I know was there. So
Yeah. I couldn't go, but one of our members went. But go ahead, go along.
Yeah, which basically said that the transatlantic slave trade was a crime against humanity. The United States walked out of that proceeding. Israel walked out, if I recall. And the whole series of events 25 years ago was completely overshadowed and nearly forgotten because it happened at the exact same time, September 2001, that 911 happened. That's correct. So it kind of was an important memory, moment in history that was forgotten. But it has not been forgotten amongst progressive peoples. So in September of last year, President Muhammad of Ghana announced that in March he would be putting this resolution, this declaration on the floor. And in fact, he did. Now, he did his homework. He went around to all of the nations that are part of the African Union. He went around to the Caribbean, to CARICOM. He went to South America, Brazil, Colombia, and the like, garnering up support for the resolution. And I will say, because the terminology was not a crime against humanity, but was the gravest crime against humanity, there was pushback. Okay. And I am proud to say that he stood firm on that terminology. Even I, as I said earlier, and I wrote in an article that I just put out yesterday, little Miss Revolutionary Pan-Africanist Black Nationalist said, because I was in Ghana in December with a small delegation of diaspora reparations experts, we were talking about it back and forth. And I said, are we shooting ourselves in the foot? Is that going to pass saying the gravest? But he stood firm. And it was a lesson to me. Don't pussyfoot around. If you know what it is, and it is what it is, then say what it is and be firm about it and do the homework to justify it. And that homework was done. There was all sorts of experts that were engaged in the drafting of the declaration. And one group in particular, the Pan-African Lawyers Union, went through history. I'm talking about not just thousands, just history, and laid it out, ABC 1, 2, 3, so that there was no mistake that this was not just rhetoric. Okay, this was based on, based on fact. And I was pleased to be in New York earlier this week for those 2 days of awesome proceedings. It started out with a wreath laying,
at the African burial ground.
A wreath laying ceremony at the African burial ground. That's correct. And I was part of a group, New Yorkers for Reparations. Trevor Smith, who is on the steering committee, officially spoke there along dignitaries and civil rights icons, you know, and the like. And who else was there? John Pierre Brutus. There in, are y'all in Jersey or Philly?
That's right. It's John Pierre Brutus is one of our young sons from the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice.
Right.
Yeah, we're in Jersey.
Jersey. Okay, I get the jurisdictions mixed up sometimes.
Yes,
I'm not sure.
it just produced a stellar study on
Yes.
slavery in Jersey and how that speaks to Jersey having its own reparations bill. Go ahead.
Say the word.
Reparations. That's right.
Yes, say the word. And so then the next day was the actual vote. And let me just tell you this. I smiled from ear to ear as all those yeses came in. 123 countries voted yes. 3 voted no. I know y'all can name 2 of them. The United States, Israel, and the third one was racist Argentina.
Argentina, yeah.
Right. And
let's put a pin in that for a second. Hold on a second. Let's put a pin in that for a second because people need to appreciate that, right? I mean, you know, Israel, you know, has gotten a pass from genocide, right? And has been complicit in some of the most harmful stuff in the upholding of genocidal racism. Its relationship with the apartheid regime in South Africa, and its ongoing humiliation, degradation, and annihilation of the Palestinian people. And in this particular moment where they're literally trying to create a greater Israel reality, right? The U.S. had its manifest destiny and part of its settler colonial addiction. This is what's happening right now. And people need to see that. People also need to understand what racism looks like in Latin America. Argentina is one of the countries that had literally had a whitening policy at a certain point in its history to erase and eliminate the very presence of African blood in its overall population. Argentina, and this current president is a Trump clone. We need to understand that. I just wanted to put a pin in that. Go ahead.
And Zai, and what they also were talking about during this is Argentina's relationship with Nazi as well.
That's all in it. That's all in the sauce.
Yeah, that's where they all go to hide, went to hide. And, you know, thank you for, you know, elucidating that. I mean, how you going to have a country that's in South America, is right next to Brazil? You ain't got no black folk in there. Something's not right with, you know, it's systematically whitening what you said.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. So I just say the United States vote against the resolution was morally indefensible. It was historically revealing and a stark reminder that the resistance to reparations is not about a lack of evidence. It's about a complete lack of political will. They just ain't going to do it. You know what I'm saying? Because the evidence is there. You have the world. Thank you, Global South. I mean, we are powerful, folks. I mean, the Africa bloc itself was 50-something strong. The largest bloc in the United Nations General Assembly. And they came together unified. They came together as one. Look at the power that we now have. Okay? We really need to look at that. Part of that, 123 yes votes were because blocks, countries voted in blocks. They, you know, they weren't outliers, you know. Now, the outliers that were there, the ones that voted.
The abstention.
What's the word again?
The abstentions.
Abstention. Thank you.
You the Lord now. You can't forget.
It's been a long day. In abstention, I will say this. It's interesting. We're entering a new world order right now.
Absolutely.
We're not entering the same world order where everybody just walks lockstep with the United States. They see what Trump is doing around the world. And people don't necessarily want to be a part of that madness. Okay? So while they didn't vote yes, they didn't want to go along and vote no with the United States. That's telling. And we need to look at that and see how that can be, we can use that more so to our advantage. And the thing that
Is,
was,
do you
yeah,
do you think the reason why some of them didn't vote yes also is they don't want to be implicated in reparations? For example, France would be
yeah,
very implicated in reparations,
Also,
particularly
the
to
former
Haiti.
colonial nations of the North. Absolutely.
yes, absolutely. Yeah, but they could have voted no with the same thing too. It's the only thing I'm
Exactly.
saying is, excuse me, Betty?
Exactly. Richard, no, go ahead.
Exactly.
Keep going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So do you think their abstention was more disrespectful or respectful?
Well, I don't know if I want to characterize what it was. All I know is
Okay.
what it
Was
has been in the past and was not that this time. They walked
Oh,
lockstep in the past. They did not
okay.
do it this time. And one of their sticking points was um, the feeling that when they even stated that Ghana, i.e., this whole resolution declaration was making crimes hierarchical. Okay, you can talk about the Holocaust, but you can't talk about
you
crime
can't talk
against
about the Middle Passage.
grave crime against humanity. And I will say that if you look at some of the language, and I'm not going to really go through it because folk can get the resolution and look at it themselves, but they really laid it out, and part of it was recognizing that the inception of racialized chattel enslavement was historically unprecedented in its legal and structural design, being the first global regime to codify human beings and their descendants as inheritable, alienable, and perpetual policy. And that it took note that everything that happened with us was world breaking and world defining, transforming the fates of all peoples across the world. It talked about an acknowledgement of a systematic, widespread regime of violence, exploitation, dehumanization. They talked about the gendered nature, the sexual violence, the forced reproduction. They talk about the enduring global consequences on all of this, warranting recognition as the gravest. And it really goes into detail that it really brought in the whole system of capitalism and imperialism and touched all around the globe, not just in Germany or something, all over the globe, reshaping boundaries, all of this based on the transatlantic trafficking in human beings and the chattel, the racially chattel enslavement.
And it's interesting because when we look at when we look at what I believe it was trying to say, it is that the transatlantic slave trade was defining to modernity. Everything we consider
Yes,
modern and human
absolutely.
was implicated by the transatlantic slave trade, from the creation of countries to the way in which we have capitalism, to
Yes.
the way in which we do international trade. All of the sins that came afterwards are sins that are born very directly in the transatlantic slave trade. So much so that there's a lot of scholarship now that talks about how where Hitler got his ideas from, and he got them from the United States. They literally studied the United States when they were forming what they would do in Nazi Germany, and some of them came back with reports that were like, we're going to do a variation of this, but what they do in the United States is far harsh than what we're going to do, right? Like, I mean, this is the reports they were coming back with first when they were looking at the racialized slavery, right? Like that was going on. And when you're looking at the way in which the transatlantic slave trade and how it began in terms of, and how it birthed settler colonialism, the murder of millions of indigenous people, the because of and that is directly related to this push for land and this push for people to cultivate that land. It literally is planet defining. It is socially defining and has defined centuries like literal centuries. And I think that is what it's getting into, the way in which maps and peoples were the whole identities are created from the transatlantic slave trade. There were like we were
Created
like when
and
you're
law.
talking about Puerto Rican
Created
music, we
and
talk
law.
about Dominican culture, we talk about like all of these things are the product of the transatlantic slave trade, giving birth to whole identities that did not exist before.
You are absolutely and completely correct. And what you said about Germany is correct, but it's the same as South Africa. South Africa
Mm.
learned its apartheid policies
United States.
specifically from Jim Crow and segregation in the United States. And I just got to say one more thing, if I can, don't be mad at me. But we are trying to.
She freeze.
Did freeze.
Oh my God.
This
And
is a
she was
deep
about to
thought.
take us to. She was
This
about
is
to say something
Yeah.
that
it's a
was
deep.
just amazing. You know, it
Yeah.
was just like wow. She was like right on it. And then and I love the picture right now because she's just
Yes.
contemplating.
There you go.
Oh,
You
you're
froze.
back. You're
She
back. All
froze for a
right.
second.
When
You
you
gotta
froze,
say it.
you
You
froze
gotta
in
go
such
back
a
to
beautiful
Jonathan. Don't
picture.
be mad
It was
at
like
me.
ah.
You didn't hear all that yet. No.
Yeah.
We talk about we don't want to use the master's tools to tear down the master's house. And I'm dealing with that term slave trade. We got to stop saying trade.
Mhm.
Trade is sanitizing. They were very specific when they used words. They tried to use words that sounded more dainty and acceptable. Trade,
Right.
slave trade. It was not trade. It was war. Okay. And we talk about the violent abduction of forced migration of millions of people. This was war,
Trafficking.
and yeah, so I'm trying to start using the transatlantic trafficking in human
Right.
beings as opposed to trade as much as possible.
That
I did a whole paper
Trafficking, right.
on this, and since you're a professor, I did a whole paper on this. I testified before the United Nations last year, the Inter-American, no, not that one, the Permanent Forum for People of African Descent. I wrote a comment to the CERB, Committee on the Elimination of Forms of Racial Discrimination, dealing with the power of words, of language, memory, and dignity. So I'm happy to share that because I slip up and say trade a lot too. But we gotta start, I think, being intentional about calling it what it was. Okay.
And that's to that
Right.
point, how we used to say slaved and we moved to enslaved, and we have to, because like you said, trade implies that there was a barter type system and there was nothing they took. So you're right. So we need to probably look at that whole term and like you said, call it for what it was. It was.
Trafficking. Right.
Yeah, and it's sister, yeah, I really appreciate that. And yeah, you're right. We do use enslaved now as opposed to slaves because we were human beings. Okay, you know what I'm saying? But things evolve. Okay, and as things evolve, we need to evolve with them. I'm in the process right now of writing out something based on some work that I did back in the late 70s. And, as our thinkings advance, we have to change up. So I'm in the process of trying to change some things. Rosa Parks didn't sit on the bus because she was tired. Her feet was tired. Okay. She was an activist. Okay. She knew what she was doing. I mean, we didn't know all that back in the in the 70s. So we are, also, I always learned back then she sat in the back of the bus. No, she sat in the first seat of the white folks area, which was really near the front. But again, things evolve in
Our niceties.
Yeah.
Did you get a chance to read? Did you get, while you were at the UN? Did you get a chance to run into Leary Daniel Favors? She's from Medgar Evers.
We did a show together. We did the watch.
Yes, Leary and I were together the whole week.
Yeah, because I listened to because a lot of what she was. That's why I knew a lot of what she was saying in the protests that were going on outside, and she took us through like 3 days.
It was so disrespectful. Those people just very, very disrespectful. It's this whole thing about people hating Africans, continental Africans. That's like saying you're hating yourself. Okay, because that's where our root, that's where we come from. It was extremely disrespectful. Leary, at the last minute, it was just so wonderful. She agreed to moderate a global watch party that we decided to do at the last minute. Because we could not be in the UN at the time of the vote, because that was just for countries, you know. And so we said, well, let's organize a global watch party from people from Africa, from the Caribbean, from South America, from Europe, Black people to come and be
New Jersey.
Excuse me, in New Jersey.
Plainfield, New Jersey. That's where I'm from.
Oh, we have yeah, and so we did that, and she did just a masterful job moderating that. It was 6 hours. It was a 6-hour, you know, so that was a major. Earlier that day, we were inside. Excuse me, the day before, we were in after the V lane. We were inside the United Nations to a full house. President Muhammad spoke, and other, you know, different people spoke and the like. Yeah, it was just a wonderful experience. And then the evening of the vote, Leary was on a panel that we organized, New Yorkers for Reparations, and my organization, Reparation Education Project, bringing the local and the global together. And that was held at the African Union mission to the United Nations. So it was a whirlwind.
Yeah, and I asked that because I know she played a clip where, and it may have been you that she played when she was talking about words have power, and she played a clip from that, and she was talking about we have to be careful what we call a thing, and that may have been you that she played when she was talking about how we call something, and I know she had played a clip of that, so that's what made me think.
It might be. I'm not sure, but we were working together. We were working it.
Yeah, it was quite a day. It really was quite a day. I had to deal with it virtually because some of us got to have like regular jobs.
And so where do we go from? And where do we go from here? Is there marching orders for next March 25? Do we that we're going to try to take this and go out in terms of moving forward in terms of reparations, or is there a clarion call?
Well, yeah, the clarion call is to put this into action because the evidence is there. The vote was overwhelming, and when you lay out the evidence and you lay out the facts, what is the remedy? And that's throughout the resolution, all in here. I went and marked all the places where the word reparations or reparatory justice was up, in there, calling for, bringing it together. And it was saying that because the harms were so interconnected, that the remedies need to be interconnected as well.
Absolutely.
Even though we are working locally, okay, this is a global issue as well. And so we have established a broad global coalition.
Absolutely.
Okay.
This is what Pan-Africanism looks like.
Yes. But one of the problems we have in this country is that the government that we are living under does not speak for us.
Right.
Okay. It's a difference between us and countries in Africa, countries in the Caribbean who are banded together on the CARICOM, countries in South America, Brazil, Haiti, or Colombia, or whatever. In this country, we don't have a government that speaks to us. That's why those of us who aspire to the new African independence movement, who believe that one of the prongs of reparations, in addition to repatriation and accepting the U.S. offer of U.S. citizenship and striving to make a multiracial democracy real,
Come on.
to establish an independent Black nation state on this soil, negotiate with the Native peoples, and that being a form of reparations as well. Because we don't have a government that is recognized by anyone else that speaks for us, because it definitely is not the United States.
And you know what? I guess I know the hour is winding fast, but I guess the question I would ask: did the U.S. put anything on record to state, for a country that has benefited so much because of enslaved people? Was there anything? And I just want to ask: is there anything that they put on the records, like while we understand and while we know that this happened, we want this language, or was there just no?
No. Basically, they said you can't claim something that wasn't illegal at the time. That's one of the things they said. And the other thing that they said, this whole thing about crime against humanity, about you can't hierarchical crimes or something along those lines. It was really kind of humorous, them saying that, particularly when Trump says that they weren't going to even be engaging with the United Nations. And then why you put the clown up there to speak on the floor against this? I thought you weren't going to even do anything with respect to the United Nations. So that just shows you that.
And who spoke on behalf of the United States? He did?
No.
No.
It was Dan Negrera, who's the U.S. representative to ECOSOC, the Economic and and Social Committee. So it was underling, but it was official from the United States government. His name was Dan Negrera, something like that. Yeah.
Well, here's what my thing is this. And it's to your earlier point on the question of the abstentions.
Yes.
Right? In most of those countries, not all of them, because Japan is one of them. There are a few Eastern European countries, right? Yeah. But most of those countries have Black presence, right? And so the task, the role of the diaspora,
yes,
in moving this question forward is as important as it ever was.
Yes.
Because if we continue to push the margins in those spaces, that's ultimately what's going to get us to the finish line.
Yeah.
And also, I want to say we should never underestimate the role that people from this country have played, whether they came from the islands or Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X. I mean, I'm just saying, Queen Mother Atley Moy, Maria Bubakari Obadeli, Chokwe Lumumba, the list goes on. W.E.B. Du Bois. I mean, going back to 1951, we charged genocide. William Patterson,
Paul
Robeson, and and the like. So we have made our mark. We were dealing with these issues even long before the continent of Africa was being voted on it. I'm just saying,
because they were fighting for liberation, right?
Push other movements forward. Yeah. What were you saying, Jonathan, my brother?
I was getting to say that a lot of those things were being debated while they were fighting for their liberation.
Yes.
In terms of the freedom movements that were going on in the post World War II. As always, it is always an honor to have you on.
And before Jonathan says goodbye, while you were doing this work this week, what hip hop artist, individual, or group were you listening to while you were doing this work this week?
All right. Well, it's going to be Bob Marley. Oh, Paris, yes, stay bye-bye. I can't even sing. Today too, what you rolling on and on through my that along with get up, stand up. Oh, you're right. I mean, Bob Marley all the way, my sister.
Oh, yeah,
I'm just saying that we don't have you on this show enough. And we have to have you on more often. We are going to be asking you to come on more often because from the history to the contemporary, love your analysis always, and we need more of it. So you are always here.
Whenever Brother Zayi calls, I come. So, all you got to do is call.
On that note, when she calls, I come.
You do.
The centennial of Malcolm X and keeps organized one hell of a national gathering in Banneker City. That's what we call Washington, D.C. from a New African vantage point. They had us all over the country standing firm on the question of reparations, and with some of our allies, some other nationalities. It was a powerful gathering, and it was something to free. I'm
And
very
you spoke. You were one of our official spokespersons at that.
for our freedom fighters.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent. Well, thank you for coming on this week. As always, honored and much appreciated. Thank all of our guests for coming on this week. The disciples, Louise Scott-Rountree, coming on and introducing us again to the principal of University High School. And congratulations on all of their successes and the many fine programs. Thanks also to Kathy O'Leary of PAX Chrsti, New Jersey. And remember their Good Friday long march to Delany Hall. On that, whenever we talk about Delany Hall, we are shouting out Congresswoman LaMonica McIver, who is currently being prosecuted by the United States government highly unjustly for standing up for immigrants and immigrant rights.
17 years she's facing.
Right. And I think we all need to know that and keep that in our heads and be aware of what's going on within that trial. Also to Racquel Romans Henry of Salvation and Social Justice on updating us about the way in which they are trying to change the way we look at youth and the way in which they're trying to go backwards in terms of incarcerating juveniles more harshly. And finally, thank you to the people's lawyer, Nkechi Taifa, on coming on, talking about this historic vote on the transatlantic slave trade and its implications on reparations and that movement. So thank you.
And letting us know that the U.S. voted against it.
Yes, the U.S., Israel, and Argentina, yes, voted against it. Some other countries abstained, but 123 countries supported it, which was a milestone. So we're definitely going to have you come back sooner than later. And are there any other announcements that you want to make, Zaid or Donna?
Oh, hell yeah. Tomorrow we're shutting down Newark around this No Kings thing, the King's Peace. And, we're going to turn it up on that. We got over 40 organizations that we're going to put in the street. Look forward to my Malcolm organization. Keisha,
when is it? What time is it tomorrow? What time is it? What time is it and where does it take place?
12 noon Lincoln Monument. I'm sorry, I didn't say that. Right?
12 noon at the Lincoln Monument. So if you are driving in your car and you are going around the Lincoln Monument in Newark, New Jersey, you will not get any place because these streets are going to be shut down.
We're going to be in the goddamn street. That's right. Yeah.
That's right.
Also, I want folks to look forward to this in New York and in Newark in terms of the work of the Malcolm X Commemoration Committee on the question of reparations. We're going to develop our Malcolm X Human Rights Festival. It's going to be an annual thing that we're going to develop. One of where we're going to be doing a particular segment around the 25th anniversary of Durban, because we had folks that went, right? And we've got good film footage on that whole. It was a powerful gathering, and it was a turning point in the Pan-African arena on the question of reparations, right? And we want to.
All right. And Donna, do you have any announcements? Anything you want to tell us about what's going on?
No, not at all.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you to all our guests. Be safe, and we will see you next week.
We'll see you in the whirlwind, and you don't stop.